cultivating as an earthly immortal in the world of mages. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, The Wizard's Apprentice returns home in glory. In the turbulent storm sea, a huge ship hundreds of meters long and tens of meters wide was sailing through the wind and waves. On the ship, Feng stood in the bumpy ship's tower, motionless as a mountain, admiring the special scenery of the storm sea with some melancholy. Waved several stories high at the side of the ship, but were blocked by an indestructible magic barrier. The last time I passed by the storm sea was 35 years ago. I remember that at that time, I hid in the cabin and was shaken to a pale face. Feng recalled the past and smiled sadly. At that time, I was tested for wizard qualifications by the wizard apprentices stationed on the Trendy secondary continent, selected, and sent to the Trudeau continent to learn how to become a wizard. Unfortunately, Feng worked hard for 35 years in the leading white wizard organization, Botanical Garden, on the Trudeau continent, and only cultivated to the level of a third-class wizard apprentice. It seems that there is only one step away from becoming a first-class wizard, but only Feng himself knows how far this step is. 25 years ago, Feng was a third-class wizard apprentice. Today, he is still just a third-class wizard apprentice. One step away has become an endless abyss. In addition, he is 52 years old this year, and the possibility of a breakthrough is almost zero. I may be the worst time traveler. I have worked hard all my life, but I can never become a formal wizard. If those readers in my hometown hear it, I am afraid I will be nailed to the pillar of shame of the time traveler. The more Feng recalled, the more he wanted to laugh. Yes, Feng is still a time traveler. Born in the wizard world Trendy subcontinent, his father is a baron of the Tulip Principality on the continent. His name is Aleister Hall. Feng is the third son of the baron, named Rest Hall, and he has two older brothers. After detecting the wizard talent, Feng went far away to study and practice. Time flies, and 35 years have passed in a flash. Today, Feng's father, Aleister Hall, is long gone, having died of old age in his bed 13 years ago. His eldest brother also died in the battle between the Tulip Principality and its neighboring countries 10 years ago. The former barony territory, Hongye town, is now managed by Feng's second brother, Andre Hall, an old man with white hair. I hope I can see my second brother again when I go back. I owe them too much over the years. Feng looked in the direction of Hongye town, with a trace of sorrow in his eyes. 3 months ago, he received a letter saying that his second brother's health was not very good. He often coughed and had a fever, and he always couldn't sleep at night and was in a bad mood. With all these bad symptoms, Feng didn't know how long his second brother, who is already 66 years old, could hold on. This time, Feng went back to his hometown. On the one hand, he could not see the hope of breaking through to the first-level formal wizard, and on the other hand, he wanted to go back to his hometown. It may be the influence of his thinking in his previous life that made Feng have the idea of returning to his roots. If Feng cannot break through to the level of a formal wizard, he will not live long with his cultivation as a third-class wizard apprentice. Practicing meditation, taking potions, and conducting witchcraft experiments, Feng's body is much stronger than ordinary people in his hometown, and he can almost be compared with the great knights who have practiced well. But after all, he has not escaped the category of mortals, and can only live to more than 100 years at most. A few decades, not long, not short. For the rest of his life, Feng just wants to put aside the oppressive wizard life he has been accustomed to for these years, be a good person, and enjoy life. Simply put, Feng has given up and is ready to lie down. A third-class wizard apprentice is nothing in the Trudeau continent. You can grab a handful of them, just ordinary consumables. But on the resource-poor Trendy subcontinent, you can still live freely. If you take out some resources to operate, it will be more than enough to be a duke of a principality. As the ship sailed, the surrounding wind and waves gradually subsided, and the black thunderstorm clouds slowly dissipated. When the ship stopped shaking, the sky had become clear and pure, with white clouds. Puff, puff. Suddenly, the sound of wings flapping awakened Feng, who was lost in his memories. Feng looked in the direction of the sound, and a chubby owl with a white body flapped its wings and flew in front of him, landing on the railing. On the owl's forehead, there was a soybean-sized azure gem, and strange runes flickered in the gem. A clear childish voice came from the owl's mouth. Mr. Rest, the thunder has passed the most dangerous thunderstorm area in the storm sea and is about to enter the calm offshore area. At that time, there may be sea beasts and fierce birds attacking the thunder. You need to help. Listening to the words of the owl, Feng nodded and said, "Please reply to Mr. Ludens. I will fulfill the task of guarding the thunder as required. Please rest assured, Mr. Ludens." This owl is the magic pet of Captain Ludens' domestication contract, an intelligent and gentle extraordinary creature. Its strength is almost comparable to that of a third-class wizard or apprentice. Ludens is different from Feng. He is a first-level formal wizard. The entire thunder ship is Ludens' property. The thunder sails in the waters of the Trudeau continent, traveling back and forth between various secondary continents, trading specialties, and earning resources for Ludens to practice at the formal wizard stage. Of course, there are far more ships like this than the Thunder. While they were trading with all directions, they also took on some odd jobs from the major wizard organizations on the Trudeau continent. For example, they selected young people of appropriate age with wizard qualifications from the major subcontinents to inject new blood into the Trudeau continent. Back then, Feng also left the Trandy subcontinent on such a ship. He took out some food and fed the owl. Feng walked down the ship, entered the cabin, and returned to his own private room. From the owl magic pet, Feng knew that he would need to guard the deck of the ship with several third-class wizard apprentices tomorrow. The thunder has a large protective magic that can withstand thunderstorms and huge waves in the storm sea. While the protective ability is strong, the consumption of magic stones is not small, and it also requires Captain Ludens, who is at the formal wizard level, to personally control it. When entering the offshore area, the wind and waves are not big. The only annoying thing is some sea beasts and fierce birds living in the sea. These extraordinary creatures are not strong. Most of them rely on their physical strength, and their strength is at most comparable to that of the Great Knight. Even if a first-class apprentice takes action, a level 0 spell can kill them. Occasionally, a few who master innate spells are no stronger than third-class wizard apprentices. In the eyes of Captain Ludens, hiring some wizard apprentices to protect the thunder can cost less magic stones than opening a magic circle to protect witchcraft. After all, wizard apprentices are the least valuable consumables. Feng took on the task of guarding the thunder, mainly to save some ship fare. He also learned in advance that the mission was not very dangerous. Although he had saved some money in his more than 30 years of wizard career, it was better to save a little. After eating the dinner brought by the waiter on the ship, Feng sorted out his combat equipment. Although it was said that tomorrow's mission was not very dangerous, for the sake of his own life, Feng tried his best to prepare everything. An airtight plate armor and a black iron shield as tall as a person were enchanted with a level 0 protective spell. A mason laden with gems that increased the power of spells, and a small crossbow hanging on the shield. The crossbow arrows are smeared with poison that kills instantly. After putting them on, moving his body, and checking his equipment, Feng felt a sense of security. Traveling through the wizard world, he had no golden finger to rely on, so he could only deal with every battle carefully. This is the fundamental reason why he can live to such an old age in the dangerous wizard world. He anticipated and deduced tomorrow's battle, and how to deal with various sea beasts and ferocious birds. After making sure there was no problem, Feng reached out and took off his helmet, preparing to maintain the plate armor. But the next moment, Feng was stunned, and his pupils dilated sharply. How is it possible? I traveled through time again. In front of Feng's eyes, the cabin of the thunder disappeared, replaced by a dense forest, and a faint sound of fighting came from the distance. Chapter 2, Eating Melons and Watching the Show, Risking One's Life to Chase. Awakening Spell. Feng hurriedly put on his plate armor helmet after the sudden change, and connected his mental power to the enchantment in the helmet. A level 0 spell that calmed the mind and calmed the head was activated. Under the effect of the spell, his brain felt cool and his mind was clear, but Feng looked outside through the armor, and nothing had changed. It was still the same scenery he had just seen. Illusion? Or did I accidentally enter the wizard ruins in the storm sea? Feng frowned and pondered with an ugly face. He felt like he was in big trouble. He bit his tongue lightly, but the pain was still there. It didn't seem like an illusion. Looking around, the smell of trees, flowers and plants, The air flowing in the woods, and the sunlight from the sky, everything was real. If it was really an illusion, the wizard who cast the spell must be extremely powerful. Lu Feng had also come into contact with a former wizard who practiced psychedelic witchcraft in the botanical garden, where he used to study and live. The illusion of a first-level formal wizard could not create such a real illusion. If a more powerful wizard attacked him and dragged him into a real illusion, Lu Feng would just accept his fate. Anyway, he was a third-class wizard apprentice, and in front of such a being, he was just an ant. Small and humble. As for the possibility of wizard ruins, Lu Feng was not sure. But the sky here was very different from the wizard world. There were 3 suns in the sky of the wizard world, but here, Lu Feng only saw one. Moreover, under the blessing of the zero-level spell, Awakening, Lu Feng also found that the energy particles between the surrounding heaven and earth seemed to be somewhat different from those in the wizard world. There was less violence and more gentle spirituality. The completely different situation made Lu Feng feel like he had changed the world. Could it be that he had traveled through time again? Lu Feng did not rule out this possibility in his heart. At the same time, Lu Feng also felt that the concentration of energy particles between heaven and earth here was far less than that of the Trudeau continent, and was almost the same as some energy-poor areas on the Trendy subcontinent. The wizard apprentice is mentally weak, and the energy circuit in his body has not yet been completed. He can only rely on his mental power to communicate with the energy particles between heaven and earth and cast a level 0 spell. The casting time and power are limited. Here, the concentration of energy particles between heaven and earth is low. Consuming a portion of mental power to cast a level 0 spell will naturally be less effective than in the Trudeau continent. However, in places with low concentrations of energy particles, the possibility of strong people existing is also much lower. After all, shallow water cannot raise a dragon. This situation is just like the Trendy subcontinent and the Trudeau continent. Why are there so many young people with wizard qualifications who have left the subcontinent, and basically few return to the subcontinent? It's because the concentration of energy particles on the subcontinent is low. Compared with the Trudeau continent, there are fewer cultivation resources available, and daily cultivation is also twice the result with half the effort. In such an environment, the former wizards have long run away, leaving only some unenterprising wizard apprentices to tyrannize on the subcontinent. Discovering this situation is a good thing for Lu Feng at this time. At least the danger has been reduced a lot. At the same time, in the distance, at the edge of the woods, the sound of fighting was coming to an end. But what made Lu Feng frown was that 2 women with light footsteps on one side seemed to have escaped the pursuit of the other side and fled into the woods, running towards Lu Feng in a panic. Trouble is coming. The 2 sides were not far from each other, at most 300 or 400 meters. Considering the movement of his plate armor, Lu Feng communicated with the grass and trees in the woods to form a dense bush, carefully squatted in it, and hid his body. Hiding in the dark, it was just right to observe the strong here. Lu Feng had just hidden his body, and within a few seconds, 2 young women, one tall and one short, came together. The tall woman was lean and strong, with wheat-colored yellow skin, dressed as a warrior. One hand held a knife, and the other hand was cut off at the root, only tied with a strip of cloth. It was obviously a recent injury, but the bleeding was not much, and the bleeding should have been stopped by a special method. There were wounds of all sizes on her body, both new and old, and she was almost covered in blood. Despite being seriously injured, she still tightly protected the short woman and fled in a panic. The short woman's temperament and dress were completely different from the tall woman. Although she was wearing clothes that were convenient for movement, her delicate skin exposed and the temperament displayed in her gestures had the temperament of a lady from a noble family. Female guard, and where did the young lady come from? Lu Feng guessed in his heart while observing the 2 people from the gap in the bushes. However, he had no intention of moving at all. The short woman was beautiful and charming, especially the in the tightly bound clothes on her chest was particularly eye-catching, but this could not shake Lu Feng's heart. He was already 52 years old. Although his hobbies had not changed for many years, he had long lost the passionate impulse of his youth. Nowadays, when doing things, he considered more about the pros and cons. Of the 2 women, the only thing that interested Lu Feng was the traces of cultivation on the tall female guard. With a broken arm and injuries, the amount of blood that flowed out would have killed an ordinary person long ago. How could she be so alive and kicking and running away with others? The tall female guard had a regular breathing rhythm and was obviously stronger than ordinary people's physical fitness, which reminded Lu Feng of the knights in the wizard world. It was also a way of training to strengthen the body through breathing and exercise. However, the upper limit of the knight's training method was very low. Even if the life seeds condensed in the body through breathing were cultivated to the extreme and became a great knight, they could not block a spell from the wizard or apprentice. The tall female guard in front of Lu Feng felt that she was just a knight who had just condensed the life seeds through breathing. She was physically stronger than ordinary people, equipped with weapons and armor, and it was not a problem for her to fight against 100 people alone. Is this training system for strengthening the body a feature of this place? Lu Feng did not move and continued to observe. Behind the two women, noisy footsteps were chasing them, and Lu Feng looked in the direction of the sound. More than a dozen fierce bandits with cloth masks on their mouths and weapons in their hands chased after them. They were strong and moved in an orderly manner, as if they had been trained in the army. The leading man, in particular, was holding a long iron spear and wearing iron-studded cotton armor, and his momentum was particularly fierce. While chasing, the strong man said, "Sangzai, why are you running? You are a warrior who has cultivated internal strength. Do you need to fight for the Luo family so hard? You are not satisfied with a broken arm, and you still want to pay for your life here? I admire your bravery and I don't mind your disability. Why don't you just follow me and become my wife?" The two parties chasing were only 100 or 200 meters apart. The strong man's vicious words reached the ears of the two women. Then, there were more than a dozen people behind the strong man laughing like a booing. Hearing this, Sangzai, who was seriously injured, almost gritted her teeth. According to her usual hot temper, she wanted to turn around and fight hard, and stab the long knife in her hand into the strong man's chest. Let Shi Jingchen know what pain is. Don't think that I don't recognize you just because you, Shi Jingchen, wear a face towel. Sangzai could smell the stench of that mouth that came out of the toilet even across half a mountain. But, at this moment, Sangzai kept silent. Even if she wanted to fight, she was powerless. She could only use her last bit of strength to run a few more steps with Miss Luo. But at this critical moment, a girl's scream suddenly came from behind, which made Sangzai's face change drastically. With a scream, Miss Luo was tripped by a vine and fell to the ground. Miss Sangzai looked back desperately, only to see Miss Luo fall down in a mess and fall into a bush, leaving only a pair of legs hanging out, twitching subconsciously. New book released, come and have a look. Chapter 3. The End of the Road, the Immortal Book. The unexpected performance of Miss Luo seemed to have put an end to this chase with a clear outcome in advance. It might be nice for the pampered Miss Luo to have a beautiful woman with red sleeves. But for a warrior like Sangzai, running for her life in the woods was embarrassing for her. However, this did not affect Lu Feng. He was still huddled in the bushes, eating melons and watching the show. His position was on the side of the two groups of people, not far away, with a wide field of vision, and he could see everything. Here, this kind of training method of tempering the body is called a warrior? But why can I understand what they say? It shouldn't be. When Lu Feng was studying in the botanical garden, he took 17 language courses. In addition to the 3 common languages in his previous life, Lu Feng knows 20 languages. However, what these people said was not any of the languages that Lu Feng was familiar with, but strangely, Lu Feng could understand them. This kind of talent, or ability, is something he has never shown in all his years of life. If he really had this ability, Lu Feng would have used this method to get enough resources in the botanical garden. Even if the orthodox method cannot break through to become a formal wizard, one can buy the bloodline of an extraordinary creature and become a less orthodox bloodline wizard. This change made Lu Feng puzzled and confused. While Lu Feng was thinking, the situation in front of him had become serious. Faced with the unexpected fall of Miss Luo, Sangzai had to stop and look sad. The pursuers led by Shi Jingchen behind him were not far away. This effort was not enough for Sangzai to get Miss Luo back on the road. With great difficulty, Miss Luo was pulled out of the bushes. The broken branches and thorns in the bushes pierced Miss Luo's fair face and made it bloody. The whole person became dizzy from the impact. Looking at the nearly disfigured face of Miss Luo, Sangzai held the fainted Miss Luo, combed her hair with his remaining hand, smiled miserably, and said, "Zuking, your fall has shattered our hope of escape, and also smashed your coveted beauty to pieces. When your injury heals, I'm afraid you will just be an ugly monster. Even if you refined some useless 100 beauties, I'm afraid you will just be a scary ugly ghost. Ha ha ha. When Sang Xiaoli was teasing, Luo Zuking woke up slowly, and when she heard this, she was very calm. Her coveted beauty has harmed her family of 36. If she could start over, Luo Zuking would rather not have this face. Now, it was ruined by an accident, which can be regarded as God's will. Sang Xiaoli and Luo Zuking supported each other, and when they smiled desperately, Shi Jingchen and his men surrounded the two women. Seeing Luo Zuking's bloody face, Shi Jingchen's face changed. The Luo family, who was thought to be a soft persimmon, first produced the warrior Sang Xiaoli. Now, this young lady of the Luo family is also a ruthless person. In order to fight Mr. Chu, she even disfigured herself completely. The young lady of the Luo family is a ruthless person. However, if such a young lady of the Luo family is brought back, Mr. Chu in Dongxi City will probably blame him. Thinking of Mr. Chu's ruthlessness, Shi Jingchen's face suddenly turned pale. Afraid of Mr. Chu's punishment, Shi Jingchen was furious and said coldly, Sang Xiaoli, Luo Zuking, you don't accept Mr. Chu's kindness, but insist on resisting. Now, don't blame me, Shi Jingchen, for being ruthless. As he said, Shi Jingchen commanded his men to rush up and capture the two. Hearing Shi Jingchen's almost black and white remarks, Sang Xiaoli, who was already desperate, completely exploded with anger and shouted with gnashing teeth, Shi Jingchen, you son of a bitch, you are a dog for the demon Chu, doing these evil things that are hated by gods and ghosts, and you are not afraid that you will have a son without an asshole in this life, and marry a wife through the back door. Sang Xiaoli has developed a vicious tongue after years of wandering in the market. With just a few words, Shi Jingchen was scolded to the point of being bloody and his face was red with anger. Dead motherfucker, you have successfully angered me. Brothers, retreat, I will deal with this woman myself, and when we catch her later, we will have a good time together and let her know what it means to offend me. Sang Xiaoli was already a dying beast. Shi Jingchen didn't want to do it himself, for fear that she would counterattack before death and stab him. If a warrior is hit by a desperate knife, it will be very painful. However, Shi Jingchen, who was in a rage, no longer considered these details. The only thing he wanted was to capture Sang Xiaoli as soon as possible and let this vicious woman know that for women, sometimes living is more painful than dying. Shi Jingchen, hated to waste food the most, and he had to eat every grain of rice in the bowl. Listening to Shi Jingchen's words, the men around him cheered and stepped back a little to give space to Shi Jingchen. They had already started to think about queuing up at the back. Holding a long knife, Sang Xiaoli took 2 steps forward and stood opposite Shi Jingchen. Her goal had been achieved. She just wanted to give Shi Jingchen a hard blow before she died. In the future, it would be worth it anyway. Zuking, let's be sisters again in the next life. Sang Xiaoli whispered softly, and used the disparate secret method she had accidentally learned. In an instant, her pale face became rosy again. Just when Sang Xiaoli and Shi Jingchen were about to fight, Luo Zuking behind her, with tears in her eyes, seemed to sense something, gritted her teeth and took out a palm-sized jade from her chest, raised it above her head, and shouted at the same time, please save my life, senior. I am willing to exchange my family's immortal book for a chance to survive. This is an immortal method that can be cultivated to the realm of Taoists, open up the spiritual realm, and embark on the road of earthly immortals. Luo Zuking's voice was crisp. After these words came out, Lu Feng didn't move, but both Shi Jingchen and his men widened their eyes instantly. They were extremely shocked. How is it possible? How can you, a small Luo family, have such a treasure that can cultivate the spiritual realm? This kind of thing, even Mr. Chu in Dongxi City doesn't have an immortal book. How can you have it? Shi Jingchen knew a lot, but he was also shocked by Luo Zuking's words. If he gets this book of immortal arts, why would he listen to Master Chu? He would practice to the spiritual realm and step into the path of earthly immortals. When that time comes, the arrogant Master Chu will have to lie down in front of him like a dog. As for the expert that Luo Zuking asked for help, Shi Jingchen used a spear to pick up Sang Xiaoli who was coming with a knife. Just as he was about to look around, he heard heavy footsteps, like drumbeats, coming from far away. Along with them came the miserable cries of his men and the hearty laughter of Sang Xiaoli and Luo Zuking on the opposite side. The two sounds came together, and Shi Jingchen was horrified. At this moment, Sang Xiaoli stopped pestering him, and Shi Jingchen quickly retreated and looked back. He saw a tall figure wrapped in silver metal plate armor, carrying a large black shield, holding a nail hammer, and hitting his men one by one. Under his training, his subordinates, who are usually as fierce as wolves and tigers, and could fight 10 of them at a time, and could even fight martial artists in formation, became quails that could not move in front of this tall figure. How is it possible? I, Shi Jingjin, have walked this wild boar forest countless times. How is it possible that there is still a strong man here? Come and have a look at the new book release. Chapter 4, King Mu Chang Shengjing, The End of the Dharma Era. Lu Feng's sudden appearance in the wild boar forest broke Shi Jingjin's expectations. The air in the summer forest was humid and sultry, but at this moment, Shi Jingjin could only feel the coldness of his body when facing Lu Feng, who was like a tin can. The invisible manic breath escaped from the cold tin can, and the insects and birds that were noisy on the surrounding treetops stopped calling at this moment, and the silence was terrifying. In the wild boar forest, the only sounds echoing were the miserable wails of Shi Jingjin's men and the bang-bang sound of the hammer smashing their skulls. Gudong. Subconsciously swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Shi Jingjin was full of fear in his heart, and his hand holding the spear was shaking a little. Even when facing Sang Ziyi, who was at the level of a warrior, he was not afraid. When fighting with him, his mind was full of excitement. This feeling, Shi Jingjin suddenly felt a little familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere. In his mind, a figure with fluttering white clothes, evil and cold appeared. It had a similar aura to the armored demon in front of him. Yes, it was Master Chu from Dongxi City, the cultivator that Shi Jingjin worked for and could control his life and death. However, how could such a strong man suddenly appear in the area of Dongxi City? This is unreasonable. Master Chu doesn't care? When Shi Jingjin was distracted by Lu Feng's appearance and was thinking wildly, Lu Feng had already dealt with more than a dozen of Shi Jingjin's men neatly. For a while, there were only 4 people left in the wild boar forest. Lu Feng stepped heavily and came in front of Sang Ziyi, Shi Jingjin and the other 2. With the cold and manic look on the 3 people, Shi Jingjin was so scared that he almost ran away. Sang Ziyi and Luo Zuking were also trembling under Lu Feng's breath. Sang Ziyi, who had finally regained some color on his face by using the secret method, turned sickly pale again. Under the side effects of the secret method, his whole consciousness was a little blurred. Luo Zuking stared with her eyes wide open, struggling to hold on. Her face was covered in blood and her expression could not be seen clearly, but from her already bitten lips that were bleeding, it was clear that she was also struggling to hold on. After all, she was the weakest of the 3 people present. Under Lu Feng's might, Shi Jingjin knelt the fastest, put down his weapon directly, crawled on the ground, and begged for mercy from Lu Feng. I, Shi Jingjin, didn't know that you were here, and I offended you. Please forgive me. If you need anything, I will go through fire and water, and I will definitely do my best. Please feel free to use me. Shi Jingjin flattered Lu Feng with sweet words. But Lu Feng, who had lived to this age, had heard countless flattery and was tired of these things. With a wave of his hand in disdain, the grass and trees on the ground grew wildly, turning into verdant vines and snakes, climbing up along Shi Jingjin's limbs. Senior, spare me. Shi Jingjin was terrified and begged desperately for mercy, but within a few breaths, he was tied up into a big straw dumpling by the vines. Even though Shi Jingjin tried his best and used all his strength as a warrior, struggling and twisting, the big straw dumpling still did not move. Lu Feng did not kill Shi Jingjin directly, but just temporarily bound him. This guy can lead more than 10 men to do things for others. I think he's also a small figure in this area. From his mouth, I might be able to get a lot of information about this place. However, Lu Feng has a more important thing to do now. He stretched out his hand to the 2 women next to Shi Jingjin. Give me the Immortal book. Lu Feng had a feeling in his heart that if what Luo Zuking said was true, this Immortal book that appeared in front of him might become a great opportunity to change the rest of his life. The realm of Taoist priests, cultivating into the spiritual realm, stepping into the earthly immortal road. The familiar and unfamiliar words made Lu Feng feel the hope of breaking through the 3rd-class wizard apprentice and becoming a strong man at the official wizard level. Yes, yes. Luo Zuking trembled as she handed the palm-sized white jade in her hand to Lu Feng's palm respectfully. In her perception, Lu Feng's aura was heavy and powerful, like a mountain. Are you nervous? Is there something wrong with this jade carrier that you call a fairy book? A trace of cold sweat flowed down Luo Zuking's face, and Lu Feng's cold eyes seemed to see through her nervous and trembling heart. Please calm down, senior. I didn't mean to deceive you. This very book is indeed a method that can be cultivated to the Taoist realm and establish a spiritual realm. It's just that the entry difficulty of this method is too high, and some spiritual resources can no longer be found when practicing. In this era, it is almost impossible to succeed in practicing this method. For the sake of her own life, Luo Zuking immediately explained the origin of the Luo family's fairy book eloquently after Lu Feng asked the question. After a while, Lu Feng finally figured out the origin of this immortal book Jade Book and its shortcomings from Luo Zuking's narration. The immortal book Jade Book presented by Luo Zuking was called Kingmu Chang Shengjing. It was a gift from Luo Zuking's grandfather, who accidentally rescued a downtrodden and injured old man when he was young and doing business. The old man thanked Luo Zuking's grandfather and gave it to him in return. After getting this immortal book, Luo Zuking's grandfather studied it painstakingly and spent more than 10 years. He only understood a little bit of the Kingmu Chang Shengjing and practiced a wisp of Kingmu magic power, and lived to be 100 years old. He became a famous centenarian in Dongxi City. However, this skill was passed from Luo Zuking's grandfather to Luo Zuking's father, but her father didn't even practice the basics. Just after it was passed from her father to Luo Zuking, before she had time to practice for a long time, the Luo family suffered a devastating disaster because of Mr. Chu's hobby. All 36 members of the family were killed by the minions of Mr. Chu. When the incident happened, Luo Zuking and Sang Xiaoi happened to be out for fun and escaped by luck. However, Mr. Chu's minions, Shi Jingchen and his men found their tracks and followed them. This led to the subsequent pursuit near the wild boar forest. In order to save her life, Luo Zuking had to fight desperately, hoping that the Kingmu Chang Sheng Sutra could lead Lu Feng out. As for the practice of the Kingmu Chang Sheng Sutra, it is necessary to cultivate a spiritual plant. The breath of the practitioner will be in harmony with the cultivated spiritual plant. As the spiritual plant grows, the cultivation of the Kingmu Chang Sheng Sutra will also rise. However, according to Luo Zuking's understanding, the spiritual energy of the world is becoming increasingly scarce. Any spiritual plant is an extremely rare treasure of heaven and earth. Every time it is born, it will cause a bloody storm. The Luo family has made a lot of money in Dongxi City for several generations, but spiritual plants are something they dare not even think about. With their little wealth, they can't even afford a hair of spiritual plants, so they can only find some slightly spiritual plants to cultivate and refine. The power of the beggar version of Kingmu Chang Sheng Jing cultivated can be imagined. Luo Zuking uses a slightly spiritual ginseng to cultivate, and only has a little ability to communicate with plants. Other gains are not as good as Sang Xiaoi, a reckless man who practices martial arts. Not to mention touching the records in the Kingmu Chang Sheng Jing that can open up the spiritual realm, achieve the realm of Taoists, and enter the path of the earthly immortal. For several generations of the Luo family, the descriptions in the Jade have always been regarded as the thoughts and guesses of the person who wrote this immortal book. Listening to Luo Zuking's story, Lu Feng's expression under the steel helmet gradually became a little strange. This world seems to be a little bit not good. At a young age, it seems that he will encounter the legendary end of the Dharma era, and practicing Taoism is slowly becoming difficult. However, this may be a good thing. In the world of end of Dharma era, Lu Feng thought that he might be able to gain more benefits as long as he could return to the wizard world. Stay in the wizard world, use the resources of the wizard world, and learn the laws of this world. But, can I still go back? Lu Feng fell into deep thought. Chapter 5, Placement, Space Gate. In the wild boar forest, after Luo Zuking finished her explanation, it became a little quiet for a while. The armor senior in front of me doesn't seem to be a good person to deal with. If he is not satisfied with my explanation, will Xiaoi and I die miserably? Luo Zuking was uneasy, kneeling respectfully with her head down. Lu Feng killed all of Shi Jingchen's men coldly with a hammer, and the cruelty was deeply imprinted in Luo Zuking's mind. She was afraid that Lu Feng would be happy and use a hammer to make a hole in her head. Cough cough. Suddenly, Sang Xiaoi next to Luo Zuking coughed violently, and large mouthfuls of blood overflowed from her mouth. Shi Jingchen led his men to chase him all the way. Sang Xiaoi fought hard and was seriously injured. Finally, he used a secret method to burn the warrior's internal force and fought with Shi Jingchen. Although it didn't take long, the accumulation of various injuries also made Sang Xiaoi's body overwhelmed. Especially after Lu Feng solved Shi Jingchen and saw a chance to survive, he relaxed his mind, and the injury that had been suppressed in Sang Xiao's body for a long time finally broke out completely. This outbreak was as fast as fire, and Sang Xiao's breath weakened instantly. Hearing Sang Xiao's cough, Lu Feng came back to his senses from thinking about how to return to the wizard world. After discovering a new cultivation system and seeing the future prospects, the temptation to return to the wizard world was too great for him. This extra thinking distracted Lu Feng. Fortunately, the dangers around him had been dealt with by him, otherwise if he was in a dangerous place, this distraction would be enough to take Lu Feng's life. Lu Feng was secretly alert in his heart. His life was important, and such a mistake must not be made again next time. After stuffing the fairy book Jade Stone presented by Luo Zuking into the pocket of the plate armor, Lu Feng took out a thumb-sized glass bottle filled with grass green potion and threw it to Luo Zuking, who was checking Sang Xiao's injuries. This is a bottle of healing potion, which can temporarily save her life. Lu Feng gave her only a bottle of ordinary vitality potion, a low-quality potion made from the juice essence of several very common magic plants in the wizard world. With Lu Feng's physical fitness, he could only drink it to fill his stomach. But for a warrior like Sang Xiao, who is equivalent to knight, this bottle of vitality potion can pull her back from the brink of death and heal some minor injuries. This. Luo Zuking was a little bit unbelievable when she heard what Lu Feng said. But when she observed it a little, she found that the green liquid in the glass bottle contained a rich plant spirit. Through the bottle, Luo Zuking felt that the magic power cultivated by the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra in her body was ready to move, and she was extremely eager for this plant spirit. Holding the glass bottle tightly, Luo Zuking did not hesitate at all, and carefully poured the green liquid in the glass bottle into Sang Xiao's mouth. The potion was poured into Sang Xiao's mouth. The girl's broken body swallowed subconsciously, and her digestive organs greedily absorbed the plant spirit in the liquid to repair her injuries and restore her body. While Luo Zuking was anxiously waiting, Sang Xiao's breath gradually became stable and long, and she was out of danger. Carry her on our backs. We need to find a safe place to spend the night. Little girl, you don't want to spend the night in this wilderness tonight. Seeing that Sang Xiao's life was temporarily safe, Lu Feng spoke. The day and night here seemed to be similar to the wizard world. Lu Feng remembered that when he returned to the cabin of the thunder, the sun in the sky was just about to fall into the sea. When he crossed here, the sky was similar, it was dusk. After dealing with the emergency, the sun had completely disappeared and it was about to enter the night. A battle had just taken place in the woods, and there was blood everywhere. Worried about the possible arrival of the enemy, Lu Feng didn't want to make trouble and simply chose a strategic transfer. Lu Feng carried Shi Jingzhen, who was wrapped like a zongzi, and Luo Zuking carried Sang Xiao, who was in a coma, on her back, and they quickly left the wild boar forest. Lu Feng walked down the front. After years of practicing the elementary wizard meditation method, Lu Feng's spirit was well trained. When he spread out, he could also scan the surrounding hundreds of meters. When he made a decision, Lu Feng had already found a place nearby where he could temporarily stay. 3 people in a group, 2 pairs of legs, did not walk for long before they arrived in front of a dilapidated mountain temple nearby. The mountain temple had been unattended for many years and was dilapidated and leaky on all sides, but the roof was still mostly intact, so it was still feasible to use it as a temporary place to stay. Lu Feng swept away the spider webs at the door and strode into it. At a glance, he saw a collapsed mountain god statue. The head of the statue was broken at the root of the neck and placed on the tilted yellow wood incense table. The hideous clay eyes stared straight at the temple door. Senior, this mountain temple is so weird. Following Lu Feng, Luo Zuking, who was carrying Sang Xiao on her back, walked into the temple breathlessly. She was frightened by the gaze of the statue and muttered in fear. Lu Feng listened and didn't care at all. He stepped forward and kicked the head of the statue next to the yellow wooden incense table to the side, put down Shi Jingzhen's body, and chopped the yellow wooden incense table into firewood in a few strokes. He gathered energy particles with ignition properties and soon lit a bonfire in the center of the mountain temple. The light and heat of the bonfire rose. Luo Zuking felt the cold atmosphere and the mountain temple eased a little, cleaned up a clean place, settled Sang Xiao, and then stood guard. After carefully arranging a few warning level 0 spells, Lu Feng emptied his mind and soon entered a meditative state. He was not in a hurry to learn the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra and interrogate the 3 people to learn more about this place, because when Lu Feng was thinking just now, He vaguely guessed what made him suddenly cross from the wizard world to this world. Through his ability to understand language, which almost affected his cognition, Lu Feng guessed that the thing that caused all this might be in his spiritual space. When Lu Feng completely entered the state of meditation and his mind returned to the spiritual space, he saw the source of everything. A mysterious portal standing in his spiritual space. The silver portal stood in the spiritual space like a sun, but in Lu Feng's mental scan and touch, the towering portal seemed to be non-existent, as if this portal and his spiritual space were not in the same dimension. Lu Feng could observe it, but he could not interfere with it at all. Space Gate. You can go back and forth between the two worlds. When Lu Feng observed the portal, a message appeared in his consciousness, explaining the information and usage of the portal to him. Chapter 6, Dealing with the Aftermath and Returning to the Wizarding World. Space Gate. Is this my golden finger? It allows me to travel back and forth between the wizard world and this world. After digesting the information conveyed to him by the space, Lu Feng opened his eyes with a shocked face, and muttered in his heart in a self-deprecating manner. His golden finger is probably the last one to come. However, it is not too late, at least he is still alive. Although the apprentice is old, his ambition is still there. He can fight again for immortality and for strong strength. Lu Feng believes that with the treasure of the Space Gate, he can travel back and forth between the two worlds, and all this will have a chance to come true. However, his expression was completely covered by the steel helmet of the plate armor. Luo Zuking, who was standing aside, did not see it at all, but felt that the momentum of the armor senior had changed a little more subtly. It seemed that he was no longer so cold and manic, like ice meeting the spring breeze, with a little more warmth. Luo Zuking did not know the reason for Lu Feng's change, and did not dare to think too much, but just silently lowered her head to take care of her best friend. Exiting the meditation state, Lu Feng removed the warning spells around him, picked up Shi Jingchen, who was wrapped like a dumpling, and walked outside the mountain temple. After walking a distance, Lu Feng set up a soundproof magic circle to cover himself and Shi Jingchen, and then untied the vines that bound Shi Jingchen. Senior, spare my life, Senior, spare my life. Seeing the outside world again and seeing the familiar armor, Shi Jingchen hurriedly begged for mercy, hoping that Lu Feng would spare his life. Don't talk nonsense, I ask you to answer. Dare to tell a lie, you know the consequences. If your answer satisfies me, I can let you go. Lu Feng's cold voice came from the steel armor, which made Shi Jingchen panic. In his mind, the bloody scene of Lu Feng using a hammer to check the heads of his men one by one suddenly emerged, and his head ached. Shi Jingchen trembled, his eyes full of fear. He kowtowed in front of Lu Feng and begged for mercy. He swore to the heavens and promised Lu Feng that he would tell him everything he knew. Lu Feng looked at Shi Jingchen coldly and asked him questions one by one. Name, age, gender. Lu Feng kept asking questions, and Shi Jingchen answered them one by one, from his personal information at the beginning, his cultivation method and martial arts, to his identity and status, who he worked for, who he belonged to, and finally asked how old he was now, where he was, and what forces he had. The more he answered, the weirder Shi Jingchen looked, and he vaguely felt that something was wrong. The senior in front of him, wearing armor and with strong strength, seemed to be a hermit who was ignorant of the world and out of touch with the times. When Shi Jingchen's thoughts diverged, Lu Feng asked the last question. How many kinds of demonized plants are there? Shi Jingchen, who suddenly woke up, hesitated for a long time. Maybe he couldn't figure out what a demonized plant was, and couldn't say a word. It seems that you still know too little. In this case, I will not keep you here. Upon hearing this, Shi Jingchen's face suddenly changed. He was about to beg for mercy, but before he could say anything, his eyes went dark and he lost consciousness. Looking at the dead Shi Jingchen, Lu Feng looked at the mountain temple in the distance and felt relieved. From the interrogation just now, Lu Feng learned a lot of information about this world. This world, in Shi Jingchen's mouth, has no name. Because of the unique practice method here, Lu Feng tentatively calls it the world of earthly immortals. Shi Jingchen understands that the living area belongs to a dynasty called Daxuan. Legends of immortals and gods are circulated here. The general public pursues freedom and immortality, imitates immortals and gods, and creates many practice systems. Opening up the spiritual realm, sitting on the blessed land and cave heaven, and having infinite possibilities of earthly immortals. Practicing one's strength outside and one's breath inside, the road of martial arts with a bleak future. As for the rest, Shi Jingchen had limited knowledge in his head. In fact, He knew the most about martial arts. After all, Shi Jingchen had practiced it himself and developed internal strength, becoming a well-known martial artist near Dongxi City. The way of earthly immortals was some rumors he had found out by working for the powerful Chu Guangzi in the city. Therefore, Lu Feng only dared to listen to half of what Shi Jingchen said and believed half of it. After all, Shi Jingchen had heard some information from hearsay and only had a half understanding. If he believed it all, Lu Feng would have lived in vain at such an old age. However, the information contained in the Jade Book of Immortals presented to him by Luo Zuking, and the inheritance of the skills, were more credible. However, this place was in the wild mountains and ridges, shrouded in darkness, and contained many unknowns. For safety reasons, Lu Feng decided to return to the wizard world first. As for the two women in the mountain temple, Lu Feng was not their nanny and did not intend to take care of them anymore. After saving two people from Shi Jingchen and giving vitality potions to treat Sang Xiaoyi's injuries, he had already saved 3 of their lives. It was already worth the value of the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. This kind of little girl, whose family was killed, was very much like the protagonist in the novels he had read in his previous life. She was full of troubles. Lu Feng did not intend to continue to be involved with him. What's more, Luo Zuking's most worthy appearance had already disappeared. If there was no benefit, what good would it do? He poured a few drops of gray-brown potion for treating corpses on Shi Jingchen's corpse, which was still open-eyed. In a few breaths, a living person turned into a pool of sewage and slowly seeped into the soil. With a wave of his hand, Lu Feng dispersed the negative energy particles gathered here, and dealt with Shi Jingchen cleanly. It didn't matter if it was an ordinary person's corpse. Even if it was nourished by negative energy particles after death, it would not be possible to produce any ghosts or corpse monsters. But Shi Jingchen was a master of the night level, so Lu Feng took extra care of him. After all, in the wizard world, due to the dense energy particles between heaven and earth, such resurrection from the dead often occurs. When Lu Feng was hanging out in the botanical garden, he also encountered it several times. It was very troublesome. After suffering a few losses, he developed the habit of dealing with corpses. After dealing with Shi Jingchen's body, Lu Feng found a cave nearby where he could hide. After entering it, Lu Feng smelled a strong animal odor. Judging from the hair in the cave, there seemed to be several wild wolves living here, but there were no beasts in the cave at the moment. In the cave, Lu Feng's mental power triggered the treasure, space gate, in the spiritual space. The next moment, the armored figure in the cave disappeared out of thin air. Time passed, and Luo Zuking huddled beside the campfire and her bestie in the mountain temple, a little scared. Armored Senior took Shi Jingchen and didn't know where he went. Will he come back? It's better not to come back. Two thoughts intertwined in her mind, entanglement and hope coexisted. Suddenly, after a few coughs, Sang Xiaoyi moved, opened her eyes, and said, "Am I dead? Have I arrived in the afterlife?" "Zuking, you are dead too." Pa. Luo Zuking heard Sang Xiaoyi's unlucky words, and slapped her soft body in anger and amusement, then quickly hugged Sang Xiaoyi, crying and saying, "Alive, alive, we are still alive." Holding her best friend's soft body, Sang Xiaoyi gradually reacted, and immediately hugged Luo Zuking tightly, and big tears flowed from the eyes of this woman who never cried. In the cold mountain temple, the two hearts warmed each other. Chapter 7, Studying Different Methods and Having Initial Insights. At the same time, at the moment of Shi Jingchen's death, somewhere in Dongxi City, a pair of evil eyes quietly opened, as if they had sensed something. The bells around him tinkled without wind. After a while, a middle-aged man with a kind face came over and greeted respectfully. "Sir, I, Chang Yu, greet you." Chu did not turn around, but said lightly, "Chang Yu, go to that direction and have a look. Shi Jingchen, who was chasing Miss Luo, is dead. I am afraid that the matter of 100 beauties has changed. You can gather people to help me check it out." "Yes, I understand." The middle-aged man named Chang Yu lowered his head, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. Shi Jingchen, Chang Yu had dealt with him before. At the level of a warrior, he was also a good player under Mr. Chu. Surprisingly, he died quietly. Who killed him? By the way, take this. Find Shi Jingchen's body and capture his soul. We'll know who the enemy is when the time comes. A small black cloth banner the size of a palm was thrown out by Mr. Chu and fell into Chang Yu's hands. The cold, evil chill immediately overflowed from the small black cloth banner. Chang Yu immediately felt that his hand that touched the banner was numb from the cold. From the small banner, there were bursts of howling of wronged souls, which was fascinating. For a moment, Chang Yu felt as if he had been turned into a bloody, skinless pig, captured by the evil ghosts, and almost eaten. Stop. With a light shout, Chang Yu came back to his senses, his face pale, covering his chest, and gasping for breath. In just a few breaths, Chang Yu felt that his body was hollowed out. Follow what I taught you, use the soul flag well, go. Waste. The cold words and disgusted eyes of Master Chu were like knives, piercing Chang Yu's heart fiercely, but he did not dare to have the slightest thought of resistance. There was no other reason, Master Chu was too strong. Just a soul flag that Master Chu made casually made Chang Yu powerless to resist. Not to mention, Chang Yu had seen the scene of Master Chu fighting with others, hundreds of ghosts took off, and the yin energy was like a tide. That scene made Chang Yu doubt that Master Chu alone could destroy the entire Dongxi city. Chang Yu trembled and held the soul flag and retreated. From Master Chu's mansion, people started to run towards the place where Shi Jingchen and Miss Luo fought. In the world of earthly immortals, Lu Feng was not interested in knowing what happened later. At this moment, the scenery in front of him changed, and Lu Feng returned to the cabin of the thunder in the wizard world again. The treasure, Space Gate, is quite powerful. Lu Feng had made plans to fall into the water, but the thing he was worried about did not happen. The anchor point for his return was already on the thunder. This saved Lu Feng countless troubles. Although the thunder was already in the waters of the Trandy subcontinent, it was still a very long distance from the coast. If Lu Feng swam to the subcontinent, with his strength as a third-class wizard apprentice, he would probably die in the waters near the coast. The cabin was still the same as when Lu Feng left. During the time he disappeared, no one noticed his abnormality. Looking out through the glare window of the cabin, the wizard world had also entered the night. The time was almost the same as that of the earthly immortal world. It was about 10 o'clock in the evening, and there was still a lot of time before the next day. After confirming that there was no abnormality, Lu Feng took off his plate armor, moved his body, and relaxed his mind. Everything that happened today was too exciting. Although there was no tension and fear when death was approaching, the excitement and joy of the harvest were no less. Ups and downs were not a good thing for him, an old man. After relaxing for a while, Lu Feng calmed down. After arranging a series of zero-level spells for warning, protection, and shielding in the cabin, Lu Feng got on board and took out the jade stone that recorded the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra. This jade stone is similar to the memory crystal in the wizard world. It can store text, images, and even some inexplicable spiritual perceptions. It is the best carrier for the inheritance of skills in the earthly immortal world. The method of use is not difficult. As long as you use your mental power to probe, you can read it. Ordinary people have weak mental power, so they need to put the jade stone close to the center of their eyebrows, concentrate their mental power on the center of their eyebrows, and carefully comprehend it before they can read some scattered words from the jade stone. It is very difficult to read all the information recorded in the jade stone. However, for Lu Feng, using mental power has become an instinct in his more than 30 years of wizard apprenticeship. Meditation, casting spells to defend against enemies, refining potions, engraving and enchanting, any work in the wizard's career requires the cooperation of mental power. Just reading a memory crystal is a piece of cake. As Lu Feng's spiritual power probed into the jade, countless words, mixed with images, talismans, and some mysterious insights, all poured into Lu Feng's mind. It made his brain swell. After half an hour, Lu Feng absorbed all the information of Qingmu Changsheng Jing with some difficulty. Although he only received it roughly, this cultivation method from the earthly world also gave Lu Feng countless shocks. Lu Feng, who was exposed to Qingmu Changsheng Jing for the first time, felt strange that cultivation could be so strange. Compared with the wizard's meditation method, Qingmu Changsheng Jing is a completely different cultivation system. After receiving the information of Qingmu Changsheng Jing, Lu Feng drank a bottle of vitality potion, and then began to study the method energetically. Time passed quickly. The bright moon rose from the sea, passed through the sky, and finally fell into the sea. The red sun rose slowly, and the night passed quietly. As the sky gradually brightened, Lu Feng stopped his research in high spirits. Over the night, Lu Feng had gained a lot. Although he could not start practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, he had a detailed understanding of the cultivation methods in the world of earthly immortals. In contrast, the martial arts method that was tortured out of Shi Jingchen was the Zhang Jiaguang, personally taught by Master Chu. Lu Feng discovered that there was a big difference between the way of earthly immortals recorded in the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra and the martial arts described in Zhangjiaguang. It was like the way of wizards and the way of knights in the wizard world. The way of wizards mainly cultivates the spirit, absorbs energy particles between heaven and earth, strengthens the spirit, strengthens the body, and attracts energy particles from heaven and earth. A spell has the help of heaven and earth, and is so powerful that it is outrageous, and can do things that ordinary people cannot do. And the knight is a proper sewer profession. After countless hard work and sweat, the body that has been tempered cannot withstand a spell from a wizard apprentice. Some wizard apprentices who have exercised a little can even hold a knight with their bare hands. Similar to the wizard world, there is an almost equally huge gap between the immortals and warriors in the immortal world. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Slacking Off, Escaping from the Cage. In the world of earthly immortals, people who practice the way of earthly immortals are called Taoist priests. Those who practice according to the method, have a glimpse of the way, and have cultivated a wisp of magic power are called Taoist children, which are similar to wizard apprentices. Taoist children also have different grades. They are divided into 3 grades, upper, middle and lower. They are almost the same as the first, second and third grades of wizard apprentices. In the world of earthly immortals, the practitioners here call the energy particles between heaven and earth as spiritual energy. Taoist children absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and mix it with their essence, energy and spirit in their bodies, condense it into magic power, and use it to cast spells. There are many kinds of spells, such as wind, thunder, water, fire, blessing, and curse, which are almost comparable to those in the wizard world. If I can successfully practice the Qingmu Changsheng Guang, will there be a way to break through and become a formal wizard, or practice the spirit world and become a Taoist priest in the world of earthly immortals? I don't know, but just the effect of the Qingmu Changsheng Guang greatly increasing lifespan, I will make a profit. If you can live long, you can always find a chance to break through. Lu Feng benefited a lot from studying the Qingmu Changsheng Guang, especially the Qingmu Changsheng Guang, which can greatly increase lifespan. In the wizard world, if wizard apprentices want to extend their lifespan, they can only take some magical plants that prolong their lifespan, or operate on themselves to transform their bodies into some strange things, or refer to the secret method of blood wizards to integrate the blood of some long-lived extraordinary creatures into their bodies. From then on, they will no longer be human. These methods are very precious, and the side effects are also not small. Compared with these methods, Qingmu Changsheng Jing is easy and labor-saving. Luo Zuking's grandfather lived to be 100 years old just by comprehending the superficial aspects of this method. With this precedent, Lu Feng is confident that he can live a few more years. However, he did not start practicing immediately. Lu Feng is still on the Thunder, and the entire Thunder is owned by Captain Ludens. Who knows if this official wizard has a voyeuristic habit and whether he has installed some spying witchcraft arrays in the cabins on the ship. Lu Feng speculates about others with a worse mind and does not want to put himself in danger. If practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra caused strange phenomena and attracted Luden's attention, Lu Feng was not sure that he could survive 1 or 2 rounds in the hands of the formal wizard. There was another thing. Practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra required the assistance of a spiritual plant. Spiritual plants were precious and not common in the earthly immortal world, and Lu Feng had no way to get them. It would take a long time to find them in the earthly immortal world. Therefore, Lu Feng planned to use the magic plants in the wizard world to replace the spiritual plants in the earthly immortal world to practice the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra. The key points in this were different, and Lu Feng needed to think carefully. After all, he was using the methods of the earthly immortal world to manage the magic plants in the wizard world. If any conflicts arose, it would probably bring Lu Feng a lot of trouble. There was also the choice of magic plants. When practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, the type, potential, and quality of the spiritual plants selected would affect the subsequent practice. Lu Feng had been in the botanical garden for decades. He was exposed to a wide variety of magic plants in his daily work, and he had a rich reserve of knowledge in his mind. It was decided that the magic plants that would affect the future needed to be carefully selected by Lu Feng. While studying and thinking, Lu Feng did not stay in the cabin for long. Suddenly, the bell outside the cabin door rang, and the Snow White Owl knocked on the door again, reminding Lu Feng that it was time to work. He needed to go to the deck of the thunder to complete the task of guarding the thunder and destroying the sea beasts. After carefully putting away the jade, Lu Feng put on the plate armor, checked it carefully, and confirmed that he had brought all the combat equipment. He opened the cabin door. There was no one outside the door. After notifying him, the Snow White Owl continued to knock on the door to notify other wizard apprentices who had received the task. Lu Feng climbed onto the deck of the thunder. The salty sea breeze blew gently. Lu Feng looked around and heard noisy sounds. The deck was very lively at this moment. Just now, a group of harpies living on the islands in the sea attacked the thunder, about 800 or 900 in number. After a fierce battle, the wizard apprentices guarding the deck were exhausted, but the results were also quite rich. A large number of harpy corpses were scattered on the deck. Dark green blood, smelly internal organs, and corpses covered with feathers and strange shapes, with no trace of the shape of a banshee. Lu Feng couldn't understand why people in the wizard world named this monster harpy. Is it just because their calls sound like women talking, and they have the ability to bewitch people? The name sounds good, but the appearance is too spicy. Lu Feng stood on the deck for a while. Not long after, the wizard apprentices who had packed up a deck of spoil smiled happily and got into the cabin with their arms around each other. The corpses of these monsters are all valuable things, which can be exchanged for the hard currency of the wizard world, magic stones. The spoils belong to the wizard apprentices who killed them. They can either sell them to Captain Ludens or pay a storage fee to ship them back to Trudeau continent for sale. Choose by heart, and take care of your own profits and losses. Lu Feng mixed in with dozens of new wizard apprentices on the deck, fulfilling the task of guarding the deck. If it were usual, Lu Feng would definitely actively kill the monsters that attacked the thunder while ensuring safety, but today, Lu Feng, who was thinking about the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra, started fishing. Maybe it was because it was daytime. There were not many monsters attacking the thunder when Lu Feng was guarding. There were only 5 waves of brainless deep-sea fishmen, a wave of harpies that captured male creatures to reproduce, and 2 waves of large sea beasts. There was no danger, but of course the harvest was not big. This caused some angry complaints from wizard apprentices. Lu Feng didn't care about this. In his heart, he hoped that the thunder would dock quickly and reach the trendy secondary continent. When he arrived at a place where third-class wizard apprentices could be the overlord, he could put his mind to research and practice the Kingmu Changsheng Gong. After the day, Lu Feng sold all the sea beasts and monster corpses he killed today to the captain. Renting a cabin, storing the magic stones, and selling them to other continents can also make a small profit, but it will take a lot of time. Lu Feng was not interested in this, so he chose the simplest and fastest way to get the magic stones. At night, back in the cabin, Lu Feng continued to study the exercises. In this way, 3 days passed, and thunder finally sailed into the most famous port on the trendy subcontinent, Port Dillons. Carrying the luggage and magic stones, he got off the thunder. Lu Feng waved goodbye to the Snow White Owl and the wizard apprentice he met in the past few days. After this farewell, I don't know when we will meet again. May you all have smooth sailing. Lu Feng said silently in his heart, turning around and blending into the busy crowd of pedestrians in the port. For him, this trip is like a fish entering the sea and a bird flying into the sky, free from the constraints of a cage. Chapter 9, Energy-Absorbing Ancient Tree, the First Ray of Mana. Lu Feng was not in a hurry to go home. He rented a quiet yard in the remote suburbs of Port Dillons. After being cooped up on the thunder for several days, Lu Feng was already thirsty. His mind was now full of the practice of the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra. After setting up the protective array, Lu Feng walked into the house. After a few days of research on the thunder, Lu Feng had thoroughly studied the introductory part of the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra. The introductory part talks about how to select a suitable spiritual plant, and then use special methods to connect the spiritual plant and the practitioner. Once the connection is established, all the practice in the Taoist child stage will be done step by step and naturally. Regarding spiritual plants, or demonized plants, Lu Feng has already made a choice. At the beginning, when Lu Feng tested the wizard qualifications, he also tested the plant affinity physique, so he chose the botanical garden. If the yin attribute or dark affinity is detected, perhaps he will join a wizard organization such as the Corpse Forest and Shadow Island. After spending so many years in the botanical garden, one of the few top wizard forces in the Trudeau continent, Lu Feng has some wealth. The botanical garden is worthy of its name. Meditation methods and most famous spells require the cooperation of magic plants. Therefore, Lu Feng has also accumulated several of them. Bloodthirsty magic vines that cooperate with spellcasting, control, and attack enemies. Butterfly illusion flowers that can cause hallucinations and hypnosis. Jade fruit that can heal injuries and restore physical strength. In addition to the bloodthirsty magic vines that he cultivated carefully, the butterfly illusion flowers and jade fruit are all seeds. Lu Feng bought them and planned to take them back to his hometown to plant, to protect or cultivate his subordinates. Bloodthirsty magic vines, butterfly illusion flowers, and jade fruit always feel a little bit worse. Lu Feng was a little entangled. Because of the reason for casting spells, the bloodthirsty magic vines were cultivated by him the best. The vines were bright red like blood jade, and the surface was even glowing with a faint metallic luster, and the hardness was not low. Once entangled by the bloodthirsty magic vines, even the strong sea beasts could not break free. But it is not appropriate to use this thing to practice King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. The life of the bloodthirsty devil vine is connected. The bloodthirsty nature of the devil vine will definitely affect Lu Feng's body and mind as he practices more deeply, and gradually become bloodthirsty. As for the dream flower and the jade fruit, one is hallucinogenic and the other is restorative. The former can increase Lu Feng's attack power, and the latter can provide Lu Feng with survivability. Both are good choices. However, after hesitating again and again, Lu Feng still took out a seed shaped like an irregular brown rock from his arms. This seed has a great origin. It is the treasure of the botanical garden, the seed of the supergiant energy-absorbing ancient tree. The entire botanical garden is built on the supergiant energy-absorbing ancient tree. A leaf can support a small town, and the branches are towering and reach the sky. Looking up at the supergiant energy-absorbing ancient tree in the botanical garden is the most shocking moment in the life of every wizard who enters the botanical garden. The seed in Lu Feng's hand was given to him by his mentor, Tia, when he left. It is a dead seed, which has lost its vitality and can hardly sprout. Because of this, Lu Feng's mentor, Tia, gave this seed to him as a souvenir. Tia is a former wizard who is proficient in botany in the botanical garden. It is unknown how much research and experiments she has done on this dead seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree. It actually gave this dead seed a tiny bit of vitality. Although it is still hopeless to sprout, it is also very precious. Before leaving, Tia said bluntly that this seed could extend Lu Feng's life by 5 years. Originally, Lu Feng only regarded this seed as a souvenir from his previous life and a panacea for prolonging life, but when he came into contact with the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra, he had a few more ideas in his mind. If he can train the energy-absorbing ancient tree into his own spiritual plant, there will definitely be a promising future. Lu Feng had learned about the ability to absorb energy particles between heaven and earth. The giant energy-absorbing ancient tree in the botanical garden absorbed energy in one day, and the magic stones condensed could meet the daily consumption of the entire organization of the botanical garden, and there was more than enough. It was simply a giant money-printing machine. The botanical garden could grow and develop until now, all thanks to the wise move of the first generation of sages who planted the energy-absorbing ancient tree. Thinking of this, Lu Feng's heart was thumping. After thinking for a long time, he finally made up his mind and made a decision. The King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra recorded many methods of cultivating life spirit plants from seeds. The dead seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree in Lu Feng's hand still had a glimmer of life, and there was still a possibility of germination. Should he try his best to become rich and powerful, or should he be steady and make progress and choose the butterfly fantasy flower and the jade fruit? Lu Feng decided to abandon his past caution and choose to try his best. He has been cautious for more than 50 years. In the second half of his life, Lu Feng still wants to take a gamble. Lu Feng had a strong premonition in his heart. If he chose the butterfly flower and the jade fruit, two ordinary magic plants, he might be stuck at the upper-grade Taoist child stage for a long time in the future. It is very likely that he will never be able to break through the level of the advanced wizard, just like his third-class wizard apprentice. After many years of cultivation, Lu Feng has already figured out his talent. He is the kind of person that everyone says is average, better than the lower, but not as good as the upper. Just being a third-class wizard apprentice has held him back for decades. Even if he changes to another system and steps into the way of earthly immortals, Lu Feng does not think that his qualifications can be much better. The future upper-grade Taoist child may also hold him back. After he is over 50, if he does not fight again, Lu Feng feels that his future is doomed. After making up his mind, Lu Feng suddenly smiled. After making the decision, he felt a lot more relaxed. Taking out the jade, Lu Feng had already memorized the contents of the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra in his research, but he still read it again word by word. It is not only a review of the past to learn new things, but also a way to relax the body and mind and start practicing in the best state. An hour later, Lu Feng put down the jade and began to practice. He carefully held up the dead seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree, stretched out his fingers, and a fine wind blade passed through his fingers, cutting a wound. The bright red blood flowed out of the wound and dripped on the dead seed. Sacrifice it with blood, nourish it with spirit, use my heart and his wood to build the Qingmu spiritual heart together. Lu Feng murmured the sacrificial spell in the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, and his body and mind were united. Through the medium of blood, he communicated with the vitality of the dead seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree. Lu Feng has the strength of a third-class wizard apprentice and a strong mental power. As the spell was recited, he could clearly sense that the blood on the dead seed was undergoing wonderful changes, emitting a bright red spiritual light and slowly seeping into the dead seed. After a few breaths, all the blood on the dead seed disappeared. Lu Feng's face did not change, and he continued to drip blood. Dripping blood, chanting spells, and blood disappeared. Lu Feng kept repeating this process. In a quarter of an hour, Lu Feng had lost 2 liters of blood. His face became visibly paler, but his eyes became brighter and his mouth slightly widened. Lu Feng felt that after the dead species of the energy-absorbing ancient tree absorbed his blood again and again, an imperceptible connection had been slowly established. Success, success. Suddenly, the vague connection evolved into a reliable connection. Lu Feng was ecstatic. He quickly followed the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra's exercises to condense his spirit, energy and then a mysterious Qingmu Changsheng Sutra's magic power was born in his danshan. The first ray of magic power was condensed successfully. A new era has begun. Chapter 10, The First Attempt at Cultivation, the leaves return to their roots. The first ray of mana was generated, which meant that Lu Feng had officially entered the cultivation of the earthly immortal. Using his mental power to scan his body, Lu Feng clearly saw a ray of special emerald green energy floating in his danshan. Danshan, meridians, and acupoints were new concepts that Lu Feng had learned from studying the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra. Practitioners in the earthly immortal world believed that there were channels in the human body that circulated qi and blood, connected the internal organs with the body surface and all parts of the body, and were the regulatory system of human functions. They named them meridians. Running qi, blood, and mana along the meridians can strengthen the body and increase cultivation. Acupoints are special points and areas on the meridians of the human body, in which special spaces can be opened up to store and transfer qi, blood, and mana. The Qingmu Changsheng Sutra records a map of longevity acupoints, which contains the measurement methods and opening steps of 108 acupoints in the human body. Danshan is the starting acupoint in the map of longevity acupoints, located 3 inches below the navel. Lu Feng had already made the measurements, so as soon as he finished the ritual of refining the energy-absorbing ancient tree dead seed, he successfully condensed the first ray of mana in his danshan. According to the root in the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, he circulated the mana in his body's meridians. Although Lu Feng did not specialize in the body, his decades of wizard meditation practice absorbed energy particles between heaven and earth to strengthen his spirit, and also strengthened his body. Compared with the best knights, he could become a great knight, not much less. Although he had just consumed a lot of blood in the ritual of refining the dead seed, his body was still full of blood and qi. The emerald green mana flowed through the meridians, almost soaking in a rich sea of blood and qi. Under the guidance of Lu Feng's spirit, it absorbed and refined it wantonly, and grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Half a day later, Lu Feng stopped practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra with a weak face, got up and drank a bottle of vitality potion, and ate a large plate of beast meat. After replenishing nutrition and energy, Lu Feng fell on the bed and fell asleep. When he woke up, it was already dawn. After a night of rest and recovery, Lu Feng's face looked much better. Feeling the mana in his danshan, Lu Feng's mouth curled up. Last night's practice not only increased his mana, but also opened up 3 additional acupoints, making the mana flow more smoothly. As for the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra's cultivation of mana and the improvement of physical and mental strength brought by opening up 4 acupoints, Lu Feng tried it and found no effect. It may be that his foundation as a third-class wizard apprentice is relatively strong, which conceals the effect of the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra. The only change is that Lu Feng feels that his body has a little more vitality. It seems a little younger. This may be the fundamental effect of the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra, which is to prolong life. The Luo family practiced the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra, and they can live 100 years just by practicing a little bit. Lu Feng has already entered the door, and it is normal for his body to have more vitality. However, after practicing the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra, Lu Feng did not get all the benefits. It may be because of his greed. The spiritual plant he used to refine the dead seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree is still just a seed with a little vitality. The vitality is fragile, as if the vitality in the seed will be annihilated by any gust of wind. Although the dead seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree was refined into the spiritual plant, Lu Feng has not yet enjoyed the benefits of the spiritual plant. He also needs to provide the dead seed with blood energy or the magic power practiced by the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra all the time, which is equivalent to having a baby on his body, becoming a father, and needing to be taken care of and fed frequently. If Lu Feng had not been closely connected with the seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree, and could sense that the vitality in the seed was growing stronger and stronger, he might have made up his mind to abolish the magic power and choose a new spiritual plant again. For the potential of the energy-absorbing ancient tree and for his bright future, Lu Feng chose to persevere. After practicing the King Mu Chang Shang Sutra for the first time and gaining magical power, Lu Feng did not continue to practice in seclusion in the small courtyard. Instead, he spent a magic stone to buy a white velociraptor from a wizard apprentice in Dillon's Port and set off on the road back to his hometown. He went to Hongye town, the barony of Lu Feng's second brother Andre Hall, in the Tula Principality in the southeast of the Trendy subcontinent. Lu Feng's second brother in this life, Andre, is not in good health. If he goes back too late, he may not even see his second brother for the last time. Dillon's Port is about 800 kilometers away from Hongye town, passing through the distant principality and the vast Dulan Prairie in the Tula Principality. The velociraptor that Lu Feng bought from the port has the bloodline of an extraordinary creature, and its physical body is stronger than that of an ordinary knight apprentice. The average speed can reach 60 kilometers per hour, which can be compared to the small motorcycle in his previous life. Riding on the back of the white velociraptor, Lu Feng glanced at the map and commanded the velociraptor to move forward quickly. The whirring sound of the wind blew past his ears, and Lu Feng hurried on his way. It took Lu Feng about 3 months to leave the botanical garden and return by boat. The appearance of the treasure space gate and the practice of King Mu Chang Shang Sutra delayed him for a few more days. Although Lu Feng still wanted to continue exploring the earthly immortal world full of opportunities, he was really afraid that he would not see his second brother for the last time if he delayed any further. The velociraptor kept moving forward, and Lu Feng kept moving forward. He would not enter any village and would go around any city, not wanting to waste time on useless ordinary people. However, there were also some blind bandits who liked to set up checkpoints on the road and wanted to carry out zero-yuan shopping. For such people, Lu Feng was generally not polite and directly used the level 0 spell, Vine Entanglement, to feed them with bloodthirsty vines. Hygienic and environmentally friendly. After all, the velociraptor is a living creature. After running for a long distance, its physical strength is consumed quickly. When it is tired, Lu Feng does not hesitate to give it a bottle of vitality potion. After a bottle of potion, the velociraptor, which was originally exhausted and foaming at the mouth, suddenly stood up and ran fast. After a day and a night of anxious travel, at dawn the next day, Lu Feng finally walked 800 kilometers and stepped into the land of Hongye town. As soon as he stepped into the land of Hongye town, Lu Feng felt a murderous atmosphere shrouding the land of Hongye town. Who are you? This is the territory of Hongye town. Please tell me your purpose. On the way to Hongye town, the captain of the soldiers from the Baron's territory stood on the sentry tower of the checkpoint and looked at Lu Feng vigilantly and fearfully. The white velociraptor under Lu Feng's crotch roared uneasily, and the violent and ferocious breath emanated from it, making the soldiers in the checkpoint tremble with their legs and almost want to escape. The velociraptor in front of them made them feel like they had seen Baron Andre. You know, Baron Andre is the only two powerful knights in the territory of Hongye town. Rod, the captain of the soldiers who used to serve Baron Andre, swallowed hard and his thighs trembled in the face of Lu Feng's momentum. But for the honor and mission in his heart, Ra dared not give in. Glancing at the mental state of the soldiers in the checkpoint, Lu Feng smiled. It seems that his second brother has trained these soldiers well. Although their strength and momentum are not good, they are still very loyal. They were so scared that they were about to pee their pants, but no one wanted to escape. Okay. It seems that my stupid second brother still listened to some of the training methods I wrote in the letter and practiced some tricks. Lu Feng nodded with satisfaction and said to the soldiers in the checkpoint, I am Rest Hall, and Baron Andre Hall of Redleaf is my second brother. By the way, I am also a wizard. Chapter 11 Hongye Town, Seeing Relatives. Lu Feng's words were not loud, but they passed through the air, powerfully piercing the hearts of all the soldiers in the level, and imprinted in their souls. Rester Hall. Baron Hongye's younger brother. A wizard. Every word was a shock to the soldiers of Hongye Town. Rest Hall, a legendary figure that only circulated in the folk legends of Hongye Town. Exemption from agricultural tax, clean and tidy urban planning, free and prosperous trade market, working hours, overtime hours, salary system, social security system. Since the generation of these soldiers' parents, the Baron of Hongye Town has been constantly transforming the society of Hongye Town by relying on Rest Hall's wizard reputation on the Trudeau continent. Today, Hongye Town already has the prototype of a modern society. The real and ubiquitous changes have made everyone in Hongye Town remember the name of Lu Feng, Rest Hall, forever in their hearts. Now, hearing that a young man named Lu Feng claimed to be the legendary figure of Redleaf Town, Rest Hall, almost all the soldiers in the level had an absurd idea in their hearts. In front of them, this guy riding a white velociraptor might come to a Redleaf Town to cheat for food and drink. But the next moment, a cold aura from Lu Feng instantly shattered the absurd idea in their hearts, making them recall the horror of wizards. In the folk legends of every place in the Trendy subcontinent, wizards have always been synonymous with power and terror. Wizards, a wizard, they actually faced a wizard directly. Will they die? Lu Feng didn't know the rich thoughts in the minds of these soldiers. Looking at these soldiers who were frightened by his breath and couldn't move, he secretly said in his heart that it was boring. These ordinary people who are not even knights are too weak. The wizard who practices meditation and absorbs energy particles to grow, just releases the life force field naturally generated during the evolution of life, which is enough to make ordinary people powerless and unable to move. You guys guard the checkpoint, I'll go to Hongye Town to find Andre Hall first. Leaving behind a word, Lu Feng commanded the white velociraptor to jump over the checkpoint, and rush along the road, rolling up clouds of dust and disappearing at the end of the road. After Lu Feng walked away, the soldiers of Hongye Town, who were affected by the wizard's life force field, stood up one by one as if relieved. You, riding my horse? Hurry back to Hongye Town and report to the Baron. Rhodes, the captain of the soldiers in the checkpoint, pointed to a young soldier and said, Captain, if that person is really the Baron's brother, how should I report it? The young soldier nodded and took the task, rode on Rhodes' horse, and was about to leave when he suddenly remembered a question and asked with a strange look on his face. This. After hearing the young soldier's question, Rhodes and the soldiers around him fell silent. Rod recalled carefully, and vaguely felt that the young man just now, with his eyebrows and facial features, did look somewhat similar to Baron Andre. In addition, with his terrifying strength, he could ride a velociraptor comparable to a knight. Maybe he was really the Baron's long-lost brother, a legendary wizard. Suddenly, everyone in the level became muggles. However, although the young soldier did not get the answer from Captain Rod, he still rode his horse and rushed towards Hongye Town. Lu Feng did not care about what happened in the next level. He just ran towards Hongye Town with one heart. Hongye Town is called a town, and its area is not small. Under the fraud, robbery of Lu Feng's father, the former Baron Hongye, it has expanded several times compared to when Lu Feng left. Today's Hongye Town is about 300 to 400 square kilometers, with a population of about 70,000 to 80,000. Whether in terms of land area, population density, or even economic strength, the territory of Hongye Town is basically comparable to the territory of the old Earl in the Tula Principality. With Lu Feng's identity as a member of the wizard organization, Botanical Garden, in Trudeau Continent, Hongye Town, under the management of Lu Feng's father, the previous Baron Hongye, has maintained a very transcendent position in the Tula Principality. If it weren't for the fact that Baron Hongye knew that there were no outstanding descendants in his family and too few knights were born, Baron Hongye would have removed the title of Baron and replaced it with something like Earl. Lu Feng is far away, so it's okay to borrow the title to make a small fortune in Hongye town. If he really wants to die and doesn't follow the rules, the old nobles in the Tula Principality will definitely teach Baron Hongye a lesson. The huge Tula Principality has existed for nearly 400 years, and there have always been a few little geniuses who went to Trudeau continent to study in countless generations. There are also some wizard apprentices who came back alive and returned to their roots. Who can be domineering in the secondary continent without a wizard's backer behind him? It's a joke. If you really think you can do whatever you want in the secondary continent, that's a big joke. Even if Lu Feng returned with the strength of a third-class wizard apprentice, he had to abide by the rules set by all wizards in the secondary continent. Of course, if Lu Feng broke through and became a formal wizard, everything would be another matter. Sweeping the world and unifying the trendy secondary continent would be no problem. More than 10 minutes later, a large town appeared in front of Lu Feng. Patting the back, the white velociraptor slowed down. Feeling the atmosphere of the Red Leaf town, which was similar to the modern city in his previous life, Lu Feng grinned. However, there was no electric lighting or iron box cars in the Red Leaf town. After all, it was just a change in the civilization of the wizard world. Lu Feng rode a white velociraptor, and it was obvious that he was not a local, which attracted the attention of the residents of Red Leaf town. Before he stood in front of the town for a while, he was surrounded by the guards of Red Leaf town. Under the vigilant gazes, Lu Feng once again stated his identity, and at the same time took out the red leaf medal engraved with the family mark, symbolizing his identity. "Uncle." The commander of the guards, a young man in his 20s, called out uncertainly. Chapter 12, The Baron's Difficulties. The middle-aged man who called Lu Feng uncle was the third son of his second brother Andre Hall, named Houston Hall. Houston's father, Andre, had told him countless stories about Lu Feng's heroic deeds. Houston's ears were almost calloused from all the talking. In his father's castle, there was a portrait of Lu Feng before he left home hanging on the wall. When he was a child, Houston grew up almost listening to his father telling stories about Uncle Lu Feng's heroic deeds under Lu Feng's portrait. Lu Feng's face had been deeply imprinted in the minds of Houston and even everyone in the Hall family. So, the first time he saw Lu Feng, Houston recognized Lu Feng. However, Lu Feng's appearance, which had hardly aged, surprised Houston. Is this the power of a wizard? After recognizing Lu Feng, Houston's face suddenly showed joy, waved his hand to let the guards leave, and eagerly led the way for Lu Feng. "I haven't been back for many years. Hongye town has changed a lot now. By the way, how is your father's health?" Lu Feng sighed, and then asked his nephew Houston about his second brother Andre's condition. "Father's health is not very good." When mentioning this, Houston looked gloomy, and dared not look at his uncle directly, and said with a evasive look, "Take me to see him." Hearing this, Lu Feng's heart sank, and then he urged in a cold voice. From returning to the territory of Hongye town, what he saw and heard along the way, and from his nephew's words, Lu Feng had a vague ominous premonition in his heart. With his second brother, the legitimate Baron Lord of Hongye town, dying, "I'm afraid something unpleasant has happened in the territory." Houston was silent and took Lu Feng to the center of Hongye town, in front of a large and majestic castle. The entire castle is made of hard black stone comparable to steel, and it is extremely stable. It may not be enough in front of Lu Feng, but for ordinary people and knights on the secondary road, this black stone castle is an indestructible fortress. But before the two entered the gate of Blackstone Castle, a group of soldiers, with swords drawn and spears held horizontally, blocked them at the gate. In the shooting holes above the castle gate, there were archers, pulling up their longbows, knocking arrows, and aiming at Houston and Lu Feng. With a glance, Lu Feng already had a clear understanding of all the arrangements at the castle gate. The clearer he saw, the more fiercely an unknown flame burned in Lu Feng's heart. Just when Lu Feng was about to vent his anger and turn this group of people into fertilizer, on the observation tower above the castle gate, a middle-aged man who looked a bit like Andre appeared in the side of the two with a short figure wrapped in a black robe. "Houston, didn't you promise me to remain neutral and not participate in the power struggle in Hongye town? Why did you go back on your word now? Why did you bring back an uncle who looks like Uncle Rest in his youth?" Do you want to use an imposter to participate in the ownership struggle of Hongye Town? The middle-aged man looked at Houston and Lu Feng below with cold eyes, and questioned Houston in a cold tone. Listening to the dangerous speech of his elder brother Ryan Hall, Houston Hall, who had already determined Lu Feng's identity in his heart, tensed up all over, and drops of cold sweat could not help but emerge from his forehead. My dear stupid brother. You really did a big deal. You actually said nonsense about usurping power in front of your uncle. Houston wanted to stop his elder brother from speaking, but it was too late. Houston Hall only heard one sentence. Where did this idiot come from? Is Andre's brain whole? How did you educate such a thing? There was a whistling sound of wind blowing by his ears. When he came to his senses, his uncle beside him had disappeared. Looking again, Lu Feng had come to the observation tower where Houston's eldest brother was standing. He grabbed his neck with one hand and pressed him tightly against the gap in the observation tower. Woo woo woo. The rock-hard fingers did not move at all no matter how Ryan struggled. The Baron was assassinated. Hurry up, protect the Baron. At this time, Ryan Hall's soldiers finally reacted. Seeing the Baron being captured, they were shocked. Some of them reacted and shouted to rescue Ryan Hall. Quick, save me, Ms. N, save me quickly, kill him with your magic. I want him to taste the offense. Lu Feng tightened his fingers in disgust and pinched Ryan Hall's words back into his stomach. At the same time, Lu Feng snorted coldly and released the restraints of the life force field on his body again. An invisible breath spread from the observation tower, covering all of Ryan Hall's men at the gate of the castle. Including the short figure wrapped in a black robe not far in front of Lu Feng, the figure that Ryan Hall called Ms. N. Under the suppression of Lu Feng's life force field, the soldiers were trembling with fear and their legs were weak. Some of the timid ones were frightened and collapsed to the ground, with feces and urine flowing. Ms. N, who is highly regarded by Ryan Hall, knelt down on the ground, raised her hands high, and surrendered. Dear wizard, Anne is willing to surrender. As long as you spare my life, any request is fine. A soft female voice came from the black robe, begging Lu Feng for mercy without any backbone. Ms. N was not a brainless fool like Ryan Hall. In front of the wizard, she knew her own strength. I'll deal with you later. Lu Feng raised his hand, and a red blood-sucking vine flew out from his sleeve and tied up the surrendered Ms. N. The vine was tightened, and under the robe was a curvy and exquisite body. With Lu Feng's big hands strangling his throat, Ryan Hall had difficulty breathing. He was closest to Lu Feng, and when the life force field spread, he was the most affected. From flesh and blood to soul, everything about Ryan Hall was trembling and fearful. In fear, his only spiritual sustenance and hope was Ms. N's spell. Ms. N's terrifying spell, with one spell, could turn a strong beast into ashes. Strong knights were no match for Ms. N. In Hongye Town, is there anyone stronger than Ms. N? But the next moment, Ryan Hall saw it. Ms. N's decisive words of begging for mercy immediately broke the only hope in Ryan Hall's heart and threw him into the abyss of darkness. How is it possible? A wizard? Looks like uncle? Could it be that his father's younger brother, the legendary Uncle Rest, has finally learned to be a wizard and returned? In fear, Ryan Hall was so frightened that he fainted. Houston, take over these soldiers, I said. Lu Feng ordered, throwing Ryan Hall's unconscious body off the watchtower with disdain. Yes. Ryan Hall's body fell at Houston's feet, and Houston slowly reacted, then quickly answered. With the power of Lu Feng the wizard, the soldiers who had been deprived of their spirit were quickly recruited by Houston, and the gate of the castle was opened. When Houston was done with everything and tied up his brother Ryan, Lu Feng had already taken the lead and entered the castle. With his mental power spreading, Lu Feng quickly found his second brother's room. He quickly came to the door of the room and slapped the 5 men of Ryan Hall who were guarding the door and smashed them against the wall. Lu Feng took a deep breath and violently pushed open the locked door. The 3 soldiers in the room died in Lu Feng's anger as soon as they reacted. After dealing with the guards who imprisoned his second brother, Lu Feng came to the bed and finally saw the second brother he had been thinking about. Chapter 13, Saving the Baron. On the large down bed, Baron Andre, with white hair, wrinkles and a weak breath, fell asleep in a daze. Looking at the familiar face on the bed, Lu Feng's eyes were unconsciously moist. In his memory, his second brother was still a young, energetic and handsome young man. Time passed, and when they met again, his second brother Andre was already old and terminally ill. For a moment, Lu Feng was a little dazed. The power, wealth, and beauty in the world are all fleeting clouds, and they cannot live forever. After a moment of time, they will eventually turn into a handful of yellow soil and dissipate between heaven and earth. Witnessing the power of time with his own eyes, Lu Feng's determination to pursue immortality became more determined. Lu Feng thought about the changes in his heart, came to his senses, and hurriedly checked his second brother's body. Lifting the down quilt, under the silk pajamas, Andre's body had become skinny and his limbs were like bamboo poles. If it weren't for the life seed born from the night's training in his heart, which was still emitting a weak vitality, Andre might not have been able to hold on until Lu Feng returned. During Lu Feng's examination, Andre felt something vaguely, woke up a little, and opened his cloudy eyes with difficulty. Lu Feng's blurred face was imprinted in Andre's sight. Brother, you are back to see me. Father is gone, elder brother is gone, is it finally my turn now? At the last moment of my life, I can actually dream of my brother, I will die without regrets. But, my useless sons. Andre's vague nonsense, the voice was weak, and it was transmitted to Lu Feng's ears. After checking Andre's body, Lu Feng already had a treatment plan in his mind. Listening to his second brother's nonsense, Lu Feng smiled and said, "Second brother, don't talk nonsense, your brother, really came back, wait until I cure you, and then you can slowly deal with your unfilial sons." Lu Feng approached Andre's ear and whispered softly. Andre's body was obviously old. When he reached a certain age, his body naturally aged and collapsed. Although Lu Feng didn't have the ability to make Andre live 100 years, he was sure that he could restore his body and live 2 or 3 more years. When he planned to come back, Lu Feng took his second brother's situation into consideration, and spent 1/10 of his family's wealth to buy a bottle of potion that could prolong his life from the botanical garden. Degraded version of the Tears of Life potion, the genuine Tears of Life potion can extend the life of a third-class wizard apprentice by 20 years. A bottle of potion requires tens of thousands of magic stones. Lu Feng only spent 3,000 magic stones on the degraded version of the Tears of Life potion, and the effect of prolonging life is far less than the genuine one, but it can still be used to extend Andre's life for 2 or 3 more years. Lu Feng's original plan was to use the potion to let Andre live for a while longer, and then guide Andre to break through the knight's cultivation and become a great knight, so that he can live another 20 or 30 years. Lu Feng, a third-class apprentice, could probably live to 140 or 50 years old. His second brother Andre could live to 70 or 80 years old, which was considered a natural death. However, now that he had discovered the world of earthly immortals and obtained the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, this technique was first-rate in prolonging life. If he could thoroughly study this technique, localize it, and turn it into a method suitable for spreading in the wizard world, then he could let his second brother Andre learn it. Even if he only learned a little bit, he could live longer than the great knight. Live 100 years, and the future is promising. While Lu Feng was thinking about the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, his hands kept moving, and he carried his second brother Andre's old body off the bed. After dealing with Houston, his eldest brother's men, he rushed to Andre's room not long after. As soon as he entered the room, he saw his father, Andre, sitting in a wooden bathing tub, soaking in a bucket of emerald green potion. Meanwhile, his uncle Rest was casting a spell, raising a flame in his hand to heat the emerald green potion in the barrel. The warm water vapor diffused, adding a freshness of grass and trees to the room. Houston felt warm after just one sniff, and the red leaves heirloomed in his family were breathing faster. While admiring his uncle's power, Houston looked at his father in the barrel and wanted to ask about his father's condition. SHH. Lu Feng stretched out his finger to press his lips, and pointed at Andre in the barrel, signaling Houston to keep quiet. Seeing Uncle Rest's gesture, Houston quickly swallowed the words he was about to say and tiptoed into the room. As he got closer, Houston saw his father in the barrel, in the rising mist, with a little more redness on his old face, and his complexion looked much better. His chest rose and fell, and his breathing became stronger. "Uncle, can you really save my father?" Seeing Andre's changes, Houston looked at Lu Feng with expectation, expecting his uncle to perform a miracle on his father. Lu Feng looked at Houston's changes and nodded. The second brother's third son, this kid named Houston, looked pretty good. Although he was weak and didn't know how to scheme, he could still be an heir. If they were weak, Lu Feng could still help, but if they were evil, Lu Feng was powerless. He could only send them to see his old father and let the previous Baron Redleaf teach them. 2 hours later, The emerald green potion in the barrel gradually became clear as Andre absorbed it. Andre's body was too weak and he was exhausted. Any potion was too strong for him. Lu Feng had to dilute a bottle of vitality potion into a barrel of warm water, so that Andre could slowly absorb the essence of the plants and trees in it to replenish his nutrition. "Wipe your father clean and carry him to bed," Lu Feng told Houston. Hearing this, Houston gently wiped the water off Andre's body, then carefully carried his father to bed and covered him with a down quilt. I fed Andre a bottle of vitality potion, which replenished some energy and nutrition, and can restore some vitality to his aging body. You stay here and let Andre have a good sleep. Wait until he wakes up tomorrow morning and notify me. I still have some things to do. Looking at Houston's actions, Lu Feng opened his mouth and reminded him. "Uncle, I understand. The butler is outside the door. If you need anything, just ask him." Chapter 14 Interrogation of Ms. N. Everything that happened today made Ron, the butler of Red Leaf Castle who is already over 50 years old, exclaim in disbelief. A few days ago, the eldest son of the Baron, Ryan Hall, took control of Red Leaf Castle from the hands of the Red Leaf Baron with a wizard who could use spells. But Ryan Hall had not been arrogant for a few days, and the familiar face of his youth was back. He also solved Ryan Hall with the force of thunder and lightning, and regained control of Red Leaf Castle. Lay, Master Rest. Welcome back. Ron, the castle butler who was already a head of white hair, choked up and called out the name he was about to forget. Walking out of his second brother's room, Lu Feng saw the butler Ron, and there was still a bit of familiarity on his old face. "Are you Ron? The Ron who is afraid of riding a horse and dared not accompany me to the tavern?" The wizard's memory is very good, and Lu Feng quickly recalled the identity of the person in front of him from the depths of his memory. Ron's father was the butler of the previous generation of Red Leaf Castle. Ron is 2 years younger than Lu Feng, and they are good friends since childhood. Before going to Trudeau Continent to study, Lu Feng was a famous noble young master in Hongye town. He was proficient in eating, drinking, playing, swordsmanship and writing. He was the leader among his peers in Hongye Castle. He thought that his eldest brother had passed away, and his second brother was also terminally ill. Most of his peers in his youth had already passed away. Lu Feng did not expect that he could meet his brothers in his youth here. "Ron, I just came back today. Help me find a place to live. From now on, I plan to settle down in Hongye town and never run away again. At this age, I am also ready to spend my old age in my hometown." Knowing that Ron inherited his father's position as the butler of Hongye Castle, Lu Feng was not polite to Ron and talked to Ron. "Master Rest, what kind of residence do you need?" Lu Feng was very easygoing to his old friend, but Ron was very restrained and used honorifics when speaking. Lu Feng felt that an invisible barrier had appeared between the two of them, and there was a feeling that they could not go back. Lu Feng sighed secretly in his heart. No matter how hot the emotions were, they became cold after more than 30 years. He and he were not the teenagers they used to be after all. After explaining the requirements for the residence to the butler Ron soon thought of a suitable place. "Master Rest, Cane Manor by the Red Leaf Lake is more in line with the requirements. It has a large space, is far away from the residential area, and has a road leading to the town." After listening to Ron's description, Lu Feng nodded with satisfaction and asked for this Cane Manor. His identity as a wizard destined Lu Feng to be unsuitable to live in the Red Leaf Castle. Even if Lu Feng took the initiative to restrain the life force field and lived in one place for a long time, the power of the life force field would escape during daily practice in life, which would often affect the surrounding environment and create some strange phenomena and creatures. To avoid causing trouble, Lu Feng simply stayed away from the Red Leaf Castle. Ron responded to Lu Feng's request and immediately went to make arrangements and clean up Cane Manor. Separated from the butler Ron, Lu Feng returned to the observation deck at the gate of the castle. Ms. Anne, who was bound by the bloodthirsty devil vines by him, was still on the observation deck. Even though Ms. Anne was bound by the vines, Houston did not dare to deal with Ms. Anne under the black robe when he was dealing with his eldest brother's soldiers. In the cold wind on the observation deck, Ms. Anne was always wavering between running away and staying where she was. The complicated psychological state continued until Lu Feng finished the simple treatment of his second brother and slowly walked to the observation deck. In the tormented ideological struggle, Anne felt exhausted, and when she saw Lu Feng's tall figure appear in her eyes, she relaxed as if relieved of a heavy burden. As she relaxed, Anne's legs softened and she fell backwards, retreating to the wall of the observation deck before she stabilized her body. Seeing this scene, Lu Feng frowned. This guy named Anne is too weak. My business is done. Now let's talk about your business. Do you want to die or live? The wizard in front of him seemed so weak that Lu Feng didn't bother to play tricks with her, so he asked directly. Listening to Lu Feng's words without any emotion, Anne in the black robe felt cold in her heart. A feeling of powerlessness that her life was not in her own hands and was held in the palm of someone else's hand surged into her heart, making her think of the dark underground secret room. Suddenly, Anne in the black robe immediately knelt on the ground, trembling all over and begging for mercy. Master Wizard, please give me a way out, I want to live. Anne's psychological defense was broken, and then Lu Feng quickly dug out the information he wanted to know from her. Anne, as Lu Feng thought, was not a wizard apprentice who had undergone orthodox wizard education, but a miserable wizard experiment. She was originally a civilian in a baronial territory of the Principality of Distan. One day, a group of bandits attacked the baronial territory. The baron's army was defeated and lived in the castle, but the civilians under the baron were in trouble. The bandits burned, killed, looted and committed all kinds of evil in the baron's territory. Anne's parents died at the hands of the bandits, and she and a group of children were abducted by the bandits. When she finally woke up, she was imprisoned in a dark secret room, with a roar of monsters and endless desperate wails in her ears. In endless fear, Anne was taken into a room by an old man and tied to a cold laboratory table. After suffering inhuman torture, Anne survived with difficulty and accidentally gained the ability to control black flames. With the power of black flames, Anne endured humiliation and finally found an opportunity to burn the old man who was conducting experiments on her with black flames and escaped from the dark secret room. However, what made Anne even more desperate was that after seeing the light of day again, she fled to a village, but was called a monster by the villagers and driven out. Lifting Anne's black robe, Lu Feng saw Anne's true appearance. Her petite face was covered with fine black snake scales, and her pupils were similar to the vertical pupils of snakes. A typical blood transformation experiment. It seems that you have met a black wizard apprentice who studies the way of blood. In order to survive, these black wizard apprentices have fallen. They really have no humanity at all. After taking a few glances, Lu Feng guessed what Anne had experienced. He had encountered many such things when he was studying in the botanical garden on the Trudeau continent. The botanical garden is a famous white wizard organization on the Trudeau continent. In their daily activities, they also have operations to eliminate black wizards. Lu Feng also participated in some of them for the magic stone. He also personally helped and dealt with some unlucky people like Anne who were persecuted by black wizards who studied the way of blood. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, The Old Baron's Resurrection. As for how Annie got together with Ryan, it all started when Annie escaped from the dark secret room of the Black Wizard. After the blood transformation experiment, Annie was covered with snake scales and was called a monster wherever she went. In desperation, she could only put on a black robe to cover her figure. But wearing a black robe was still very suspicious, and it was easy to be watched by soldiers and guards wherever she went. Annie had to choose to survive in the sparsely populated wilderness. With the ability to control black flames, Annie, although not much stronger than ordinary people, was able to get along well in the wilderness. Until a few days ago, when she was hunting a black bear in the woods and burned the black bear to death with black fire, she was discovered by Ryan who was hunting in the woods. Seeing Annie's strength, Ryan was shocked and thought he had met a legendary wizard. He immediately followed Annie like a dog, persuading Annie to help him. Even if Annie revealed her true identity under the black robe, it did not scare Ryan, but made Ryan more excited, saying that he had seen a real wizard. Anne was originally a kind and determined little girl. Otherwise, she would not have hidden in the wilderness because she was afraid of people calling her a monster. Ryan did not show any hostility, and Anne could not be cruel to Ryan. So, under Ryan's persuasion, Anne was finally moved. Only those who have experienced the loneliness of the wild can understand. Now there is a person who is not afraid of her appearance, and there are a lot of benefits waiting for her. After struggling for a while, Anne decisively chose to follow her heart. After arriving in Hongye town, Ryan really fulfilled his promise and let Anne enjoy the most luxurious treatment. Then, Ryan, who had already had a rebellious heart, decisively took action when Andre was critically ill after getting the help of Anne. This is what Lu Feng encountered when he returned to Hongye town. After learning everything about Annie, Lu Feng said, "Now I give you a chance, be my subordinate for 10 years, and then I will give you freedom." Lu Feng was ready to subdue Annie as his subordinate. After a blood transformation experiment, Annie merged the blood of a supernatural creature and possessed the innate magic of a supernatural creature. But her strength is pitifully weak. The power of black fire may be good, but her body is only slightly stronger than that of an ordinary person. According to Lu Feng's observation, she is probably not as good as a formal knight who has been trained for a long time. If she is trained by Lu Feng to make up for her shortcomings, it will not take long for her to have the strength of a first-class wizard or apprentice. Use her as a thug and work for Lu Feng. Whether it is guarding Hongye town or being an experimental assistant, it is a good choice. Hearing Lu Feng's words, Annie was pleasantly surprised. Without thinking, she agreed to Lu Feng's request to work for 10 years. It was getting dark when Annie's affairs were settled. Lu Feng took Annie to stay in Hongye Castle temporarily. The cane manor that the butler Ryan promised him had not been cleaned up yet, so Lu Feng couldn't live there even if he wanted to. What's more, he had to cure his second brother thoroughly tomorrow. Staying in Hongye Castle tonight would save the trouble of traveling tomorrow. There was no conversation that night. Lu Feng spent his time practicing the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra, and opened up 2 more acupoints overnight. In the past few days, Lu Feng looked inside himself and could see 8 acupoints of light in his body, flickering with the flow of the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra's magic power. As his Kingmu Changsheng Sutra practice progressed, Lu Feng did not feel the change in his physical strength, but his vitality and energy were growing day by day. This method has no power to protect the body, but it is very effective in prolonging life. The better you practice, the longer you live. As his Kingmu Changsheng Sutra practice increased, Lu Feng also found that the energy-absorbing ancient tree dead seeds he refined into his life spirit plant also began to exert its power. The daily consumption of the dead seeds also increased with his practice. For a while, Lu Feng didn't know whether to be happy or worried. The next morning, after eating breakfast shared by several people, Lu Feng drank another bottle of vitality potion and barely felt full. Increasing magic power, raising dead seeds, and increasing consumption made Lu Feng's appetite increase greatly. The consumption of vitality potion has also increased a lot. Before practicing Kingmu Changsheng, Lu Feng could drink a bottle of vitality potion and go without food for several days. But now it is not possible. With 2 big eaters around, a bottle of vitality potion can only last for 1 day. After checking the inventory of vitality potion, there are still 16 bottles left in the bag, which is enough for him to use for 16 days at most. It is time to consider the future consumption of potions, whether to make them by himself or think of other ways. While Lu Feng was thinking, he had already come to the room of his second brother Andre. "Brother, rest, is that you?" In the room, Houston was guarding the bed. After absorbing a bottle of vitality potion, Andre today was much better than yesterday. He was much more energetic. Although he could not get out of bed and move freely, he could already lean on the pillow with clear consciousness. He had learned everything that happened yesterday from his son Houston. Andre was shocked and extremely happy. After more than 30 years, his younger brother Rest finally came back. Or as a noble wizard, he returned with strength. Lu Feng's young figure gradually came to Andre, looking at the appearance that was almost the same as when they parted after so many years. Andre smiled happily, and was so excited that he couldn't speak. "Second brother, I'm back." Holding Andre's hand, Lu Feng's eyes were a little moist. He chatted with his second brother about some past events and expressed his longing for each other. This talk lasted for nearly 2 hours, just like a long phone call between lovers. The two who had been separated for a long time didn't feel enough. "Second brother, I won't leave in the future. I plan to stay in Hongye town. We will have plenty of time to chat slowly in the future. Wait for me to cure your illness first. Let you recover, and then we will chat slowly." Lu Feng interrupted this addictive chat with great perseverance and said to his second brother Andre, Okay. Rest, you are capable now, and I will listen to you." Andre smiled with relief and said to Lu Feng. Lu Feng took out a bottle containing the inferior version of Tears of Life potion, and carefully took out a few drops of the brilliant potion with the hands of a wizard, and fed it to Andre drop by drop. Every time he fed a drop, Lu Feng would check Andre's reaction. He was afraid that his old and weak second brother would be damaged by the potion. After feeding 3 drops of the potion, Andre only felt a warm current flowing through his limbs, and his skinny and weak hands and feet seemed to be revitalized and began to become strong. But his face also began to become abnormally camel red. Seeing this, Lu Feng immediately stopped feeding and used the power of King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra to massage his second brother's whole body. The magic power cultivated by the skills of the earthly immortal world is more agile than the spiritual power of the wizard. It is very suitable for conditioning the body. Under the guidance of Lu Feng's magic power, the power of the 3 drops of Tears of Life potion was quickly guided by him to spread to Andre's whole body. It blended into the flesh and blood, turned into vitality, and repaired the aging flesh and blood. After Andre digested the power of the medicine, Lu Feng continued to feed him the medicine, and then massage to assist absorption. In the busyness, the day passed by in a flash. After a busy day, Andre absorbed only 1/3 of the Tears of Life potion. Although it was not completely absorbed, Andre's body became younger. His skin was moist and plump, and his muscles were strong and powerful. Andre regained some of his night strength. He can already get out of bed and walk. Except for his white hair, he is not much different from a middle-aged man. Feeling the changes in his body, Andre got out of bed and murmured in shock, "Rester, it feels so good to be young again. Is this the power of a wizard? It's too powerful." The new book is launched, and the author is offering bowls to ask for follow-up reading. Kind people who have tickets can also come and get two, to encourage the little brother who can't make ends meet. Chapter 16 Cane Manor. From a scientific and rational analysis, Baron Andre's sigh is very wrong. The effect of the Tears of Life potion can be exerted so quickly. Another part of the credit belongs to the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. Lu Feng used his magic power to massage his second brother, which accelerated his absorption of the potion. Otherwise, with Andre's aging body, it would be extremely difficult to digest a few drops of the Tears of Life potion. In Lu Feng's original plan, it would take about half a month for the second brother Andre to completely digest the Tears of Life potion. Now, with the assistance of the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra's magic power, the time is greatly shortened. It will take about 2 more days for Andre to take and digest all the Tears of Life. Therefore, Andre, who has come back to life, should not only thank the wizard's power, but also thank the magical skills of the earthly world. However, Lu Feng did not say much, but just celebrated his new life with his second brother. In the next 2 days, Lu Feng wholeheartedly helped Andre absorb the Tears of Life potion. During this period, the butler Ron also cleaned up the Cane Manor and handed it over to Lu Feng. After talking to his second brother, Lu Feng moved into Cane Manor with Annie. In the early morning, the sun was rising high. In Cane Manor, in a dense forest, Lu Feng sat cross-legged on a big rock. He practiced a King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. As he breathed in and out, the warm spring breeze lingered around him, rolling up the essence of plants and trees in the forest and flying into Lu Feng's body. In the lush forest, the essence of plants and trees is rich. In the wizard world, the essence of plants and trees is called natural attribute energy particles, and in the earthly immortal world, it is called plant aura. The names are different, but for Lu Feng who practiced a King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra, there is almost no difference. Absorbed into the body, practiced into the spirit, energy and spirit, to increase magic power. When he felt a little tired, Lu Feng stopped practicing today. He had absorbed enough essence of plants and trees, and the rest needed Lu Feng to digest slowly. Energy particles and the spiritual energy of plants and trees are gifts from heaven and earth to wizards and earthly immortals, and are great tonics. If you want to completely transform the energy particles between heaven and earth into physical and mental enhancement and the evolution of life, you need time to slowly digest and absorb them. If you are impatient, you will only get half the result with twice the effort. In serious cases, you will be blown up by energy particles and assimilated by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Only by taking a break can you go further on the path of practicing and pursuing immortality. After walking out of the woods, Annie, still dressed in a black robe, was slowly practicing a set of boxing techniques in the open space outside the woods. This boxing technique is completely different from the red leaf sword technique that has been passed down from generation to generation in Hongye town. One punch and one kick, like an elephant stretching its body and waving its trunk, the punches and kicks seem to carry a huge force. The boxing technique that Annie is practicing is a martial arts technique that Lu Feng pried out from Shi Jingchen in the earthly immortal world. Elephant armor technique. It is quite similar to the night breathing technique in the wizard world. Both are techniques for training the body and seeking extraordinary strength. After 2 days of observation, Annie behaved extremely docile and well-behaved around Lu Feng. She took the initiative to accept her identity as Lu Feng's subordinate, and served Lu Feng honestly and peacefully. So Lu Feng taught Annie the elephant armor skill to experiment with. After all, it was just a cheap subordinate that Lu Feng got casually, so Lu Feng didn't feel bad about using her. As for Annie's escape and rebellion, Lu Feng didn't care at all. The blood-sucking vine he cultivated was still attached to Annie's body, becoming the red rope that tied Annie's black robe, and also monitoring Annie's every move. If Annie had any other intentions, she would have to die and become fertilizer for the flowers. After performing a set of moves in the elephant armor skill, Annie saw Lu Feng finished practicing and walked out of the woods, and hurried to Lu Feng's side. She said obediently, "Master, the servants have prepared the food." Under Lu Feng's instructions, Ron accepted Annie as an apprentice and earnestly taught her the experience of being a housekeeper. Cane Manor has become Lu Feng's manor. As a wizard, Lu Feng also needs a housekeeper to help him manage the manor. Anne was only 15 or 16 years old. After the transformation of the blood of the Black Wizard, she had entered the extraordinary realm and had the ability to cast spells. After strengthening her body and making up for her shortcomings, Anne would soon be able to have the combat power of a first-class wizard or apprentice. At the same time, Anne's mental intelligence had also grown to a certain extent during the transformation, and she learned some experience in managing the manor very quickly. The butler Ron also praised Anne's diligence and rapid progress. He said that Anne was the second smartest person he had ever seen. The first, of course, was the famous Lu Feng, Master Rest. After taking Anne back to the residence, several young maids hurriedly handed over wet and warm towels to wipe the two. After wiping off the sweat from the practice and washing his hands in the copper basin brought by the maid, Lu Feng sat at the dining table. Today's breakfast was extremely rich. A large amount of barbecue, various fresh fruits, vegetables, white bread, sweet honey, and milk piled up on the dining table, forming a small mountain. After sitting down, Lu Feng used both hands to quickly stuff food into his mouth, chewed it, and swallowed it. Even the bones in the meat were chewed and swallowed by Lu Feng. The elegant and rough eating made the maids beside him salivate. However, they were professionally trained and served Lu Feng diligently, passing the food on the table to Lu Feng's handy place for him to take. Annie, who was sitting at the side, also sat at the table and began to wolf down the food. Practicing the elephant armor and exercising her body also made her appetite open. The strong growth of the body is inseparable from the nutrition of food. At the beginning of the practice, the more you eat, the faster your strength grows. However, compared with Lu Feng, Annie's appetite is much smaller. The food on the table is enough for 30 people a day. Annie was full after eating 3 people's portions, and Lu Feng ate 27 people's portions before he felt half full. He also drank 1/3 of a bottle of vitality potion before he felt full. It won't work if we keep going like this. The vitality potion is almost gone. Food alone is not enough for cultivation and daily feeding of the dead energy-absorbing ancient tree. I have to think of a solution quickly. After lunch, Lu Feng walked on the path in the manor, taking a walk and thinking. Ordinary wizards usually don't have such troubles. Lu Feng has such a change, all because of practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra and the addition of a dead energy-absorbing ancient tree in his body, 2 big eaters. The dead energy-absorbing ancient tree carries Lu Feng's hope for longevity, and the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra complements each other. Since he can't save money, he just needs to find a way to increase revenue. The materials for refining vitality potions are all wild grasses and flowers that can be seen on the roadside in the botanical garden, but on this trendy subcontinent, it's a bit troublesome to collect those materials. Thinking of this, Lu Feng's head hurt. Botanical Garden is a large organization with many benefits. But for Lu Feng now, it is too dangerous. If the earthly immortal world skills he practiced were discovered by the official wizards in the Botanical Garden, he would probably only have a clean laboratory table and a cold and sharp scalpel waiting for him. Even if the White Wizard of the Botanical Garden had a noble character, if he discovered Lu Feng's abnormality, he would probably be happy to go back to his old job and send him to the laboratory table. In accordance with his original wish, Lu Feng thought it was better to suffer himself first. He had asked his second brother to help collect and purchase the materials for refining the vitality potion, but he didn't know when there would be a result. Chapter 17, Red Leaves Matter is over, returning to the earthly immortal world. The second brother Andre agreed to help with the materials. However, these days, Andre, who had just regained his vitality, was also very busy. The unfilial son, the eldest son Ryan, made a big mess for the power of Hongye town, and Andre had to clean it up personally. However, since the day after Andre recovered, Lu Feng has never seen the second brother's filial eldest son Ryan again. It is estimated that he was either buried or. However, after this change in Hongye Castle, Andre also saw the character of the third son Houston. Although his strength is a little weak, his character is good and can be cultivated. As for Andre's second son, when Lu Feng asked about it, Andre was angry. I don't know if that disobedient kid listened to too many stories of wandering poets in his early years and liked adventure and excitement. He learned a half-baked Hongye breathing method, stole a set of armor in the castle, led a horse, and embarked on an adventurous journey. Now, there is no news at all, and his life and death are unknown. Andre just pretended that he didn't have such a son. In Hongye town, the trouble of the second brother has been solved. Lu Feng has been practicing in Cane Manor for 2 days. He was so quiet that he couldn't help but think of the earthly immortal world. 10 days have passed. I don't know what changes there are now. Compared with the Trudeau continent, which is rich in resources but extremely dangerous, Lu Feng wants to go to the earthly immortal world, which is slightly less dangerous. After giving an order to the housekeeper Annie, Lu Feng walked into the underground laboratory in the manor. After locking the door of the laboratory from the inside, Lu Feng embedded a magic stone in the laboratory's protective magic circle and activated the magic circle. After making all preparations, Lu Feng put on the reassuring plate armor again. With a thought, he communicated with a treasure, Space Gate, in the spiritual space. The next moment, Lu Feng's figure disappeared in the laboratory. In the earthly immortal world, in a small cave next to the wild boar forest, 2 wild wolves, one male and one female, were full and were working hard to reproduce their offspring. Suddenly, a loud noise appeared behind the 2 wild wolves. The invisible aura spread, and the male wolf, who was jumping with his head held high, felt cold all over, and suddenly his energy was drained. The passionate female wolf felt that the male wolf was abnormal, and when she turned around, she saw a tall figure that looked like copper and iron. Woo! The female wolf, frightened by the sudden appearance of Lu Feng, quickly jumped up and ran out of the cave. For a moment, the 2 wild wolves that were closely connected were frightened by Lu Feng and fled for their lives. What bad luck! As soon as he entered the world of earthly immortals, he saw 2 beasts mating, which made Lu Feng speechless. Walking out of the cave, the weather outside was clear. The slight breeze blew a pungent stench to Lu Feng. Following the smell, he saw several corpses lying in a mess not far from the cave, where Lu Feng had dealt with Shi Jingjin. In the warm temperature, the corpses had begun to rot, and there were traces of animals gnawing on the surface. Walking forward, Lu Feng calmly scanned and checked these corpses with his mental power. It was discovered that all of these people died of fatal sword wounds. Judging from the appearance and body features of these corpses, they were all a group of martial arts practitioners who were skilled in weapon combat and fist and foot attacks. They were dressed similarly to Shi Jingjin, practiced martial arts, and had similar weapons, and seemed to be from the same faction. The subordinates of that guy named Chu in Dongxi City. Lu Feng guessed the identity of these people, and felt that they should be correct. These people should be Mr. Chu, who sent them out to find the person who killed Shi Jingjin after knowing that Shi Jingjin was dead, or to search for the 2 women of the Luo family. It's just that I don't know what happened later. These people of Mr. Chu were attacked and killed here. Could it be the 2 women of the Luo family who did it? Lu Feng muttered to himself as he suddenly had an idea in his mind. When he came to the abandoned mountain temple where the 2 women of the Luo family were placed that day, he hadn't seen it for more than 10 days, and the mountain temple was even more dilapidated. Originally, there was no roof, and it was leaking everywhere. Now it has become a ruined building, without even a wall, and the original mountain god statue was buried in the dust. In the extremely dilapidated mountain temple, Lu Feng could vaguely see a lot of traces of fighting. Obviously, there was no peace here either. Just as Lu Feng was about to leave, he suddenly sensed a cold breath from the mountain temple. This breath is a bit like the vengeful spirits I dealt with in the wizard world, but it feels a bit weaker. The familiar cold breath reminded Lu Feng of a bad past. The strange and vicious vengeful spirits he encountered in an abandoned manor. Difficult to kill, weird, that time. If the official wizards from the botanical garden had not arrived, Lu Feng and other wizard apprentices would not have seen the sun the next day. At that time, he was already a third-class wizard apprentice, but he still had no power to fight back in front of the vengeful spirits. Born from corpses, the vengeful spirits are much more powerful than the corpse monsters. However, this cold breath similar to the vengeful spirits in front of him, isn't it too weak? If it weren't for hiding in the broken walls of the mountain temple, Lu Feng felt that the cold breath he found would have been directly purified by the sun in the sky. Driven by curiosity, Lu Feng dug around in the broken walls and soon found the hiding place of the cold breath. A piece of black wood, like a fragment of a mountain god statue. With his mental power sweeping, Lu Feng saw a cold airflow in the black wood, with a faint consciousness. It was somewhat similar to the vengeful spirits he had seen before. Could this be the ghost in the world of earthly immortals? In the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra, such cold things with weak consciousness are called ghosts. Living people have souls and spirits, and when people die, their spirits are scattered and their souls fly away. But there are also some unlucky people who have resentment when they die, or they happen to be in a yin and evil place. The combination of soul, resentment, and yin energy will form a special creature, which is the ghost. When Lu Feng picked up the ghost and looked at it curiously, his heart of research was burning. In a cave more than 10 miles away, Luo Zuking, who was sitting cross-legged and practicing breathing, suddenly trembled slightly with a long banner in her hand. Sensing the change in the long sail in her hand, Luo Zuking's expression changed slightly. Sang Ziai, who was resting nearby, also opened his eyes alertly. Ziai, the ghost I left in the mountain temple has been touched by someone. The person who can find the ghost must be very powerful. This time, maybe Master Chu took action personally. Chapter 18 I'm too busy visiting relatives today, so I'll take a day off. Just as the title. Chapter 19, Graveside Disco-Style Revenge Plan. In the cave, Luo Zuking's words made Sang Ziai feel unwell. Zuking, let's run. It seems that we can't stay near Dongshi City for a moment. If Master Chu finds our whereabouts, we won't see the sun the next day. Sang Ziai said to Luo Zuking with a face full of fear. Hearing this, Luo Zuking stretched out her jade hand to stroke the long banner, and a look of struggle appeared in her beautiful eyes. Do you want to escape? Like a dog that has lost its home, afraid of Master Chu, fleeing Dongshi City? Facing Master Chu who made her family lose their homes, Luo Zuking wanted to drink his blood and eat his flesh. But thinking of Master Chu's strength, Luo Zuking's reason overwhelmed her hatred. Can't fight hard. Luo Zuking herself knows best the strength of her and Sang Ziai. Sang Ziai was just a warrior who had developed internal strength and could fight 100 people, but in front of a Taoist priest like Mr. Chu who had developed magical powers, he was no different from an ordinary person. Luo Zuking also learned the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. A few days before the Luo family was destroyed, she barely comprehended the practice of the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. She refined a 300-year-old ginseng that her father had carefully prepared for her and developed the first wisp of the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra's magical power. Unfortunately, this 300-year-old ginseng, after several cycles of withering and flourishing, lived for a long time, but it was still not a spiritual plant, but just added a little more spirituality. Therefore, after Luo Zuking developed magical powers, the improvement she gained was not great. She might be able to live longer, but her combat ability was not strong. She couldn't even beat Sang Ziai, but was just a little stronger than ordinary people. The only special thing was that Luo Zuking could faintly hear the voices of the plants around her, as if she could communicate with them. This ability allowed Luo Zuking to thrive in deep mountains and forests, where there were lush vegetation. When Shi Jingchen led his men to encircle and suppress, he found Lu Feng's figure, all thanks to this ability. After Lu Feng left, Sang Ziai absorbed the bottle of vitality potion and healed his injuries. Although the broken left arm could not be restored, it no longer affected the battle. Luo Zuking also used this ability to trick Chang Yu, who was sent by Master Chu to investigate the cause of Shi Jingchen's death, and snatched a white bone long banner that could enslave ghosts from Chang Yu. Chang Yu was just a warrior with limited strength. With a reward from Master Chu, he could temporarily control the white bone long banner. However, He controlled the white bone long banner entirely with the internal force and blood in his body. Although the ghosts in the long banner were powerful, Chang Yu, who was just a warrior, could not control them at all. He could only let the ghosts attack by instinct. Despite this, there were 10 ghosts enslaved in the long banner, plus more than a dozen well-trained thugs under his command. Chang Yu, holding the long banner, was no problem against 5 or 6 warriors. Unfortunately, Master Chiu underestimated the strength of Luo Zuking and Sang Xiaoyi. He never thought that Luo Zuking would develop magic power and become a Taoist priest like him. With Luo Zuking's ability to communicate with plants, the 2 women ambushed Chang Yu in the woods. They successfully snatched a long bone banner that controlled the ghost from him. Luo Zuking took a long bone banner, infused it with magic power, and easily exerted a stronger power than Chang Yu. Although she could not control the ghost in the banner as easily as her arm, she could make the ghost point to hit wherever she wanted. For a while, there were 10 more powerful helpers. Even if Chang Yu wanted to turn the tables, he was powerless. Together with his men, they were soon beaten into a mess by Sang Xiaoyi and Luo Zuking. Some died, and some were captured. Finally, the 2 women interrogated the captured people and learned a lot of information about Master Chiu. In the past few days, Luo Zuking has completely refined the long banner that enslaves the ghost. The more she understood the white bone banner, the more Luo Zuking understood how powerful Mr. Chiu was. According to the records in the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra, she was now at most a Taoist child who was accumulating mana. Luo Zuking only opened up one of the acupoints in the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra, Danshan. Her strength was the lowest among the Taoist children. With a long banner, she probably had the fighting power of a low-grade Taoist child. But if she wanted to compete with Mr. Chiu, it would be like looking for death. From the information she got from Mr. Chiu's subordinates, Luo Zuking knew that Mr. Chiu had already begun to collect materials for building the Earth Fairy Spirit Realm. It was estimated that he also had the strength of a high-grade Taoist child. He began to plan for the future. The gap was extremely huge, and Luo Zuking didn't want to die in vain. If she charged blindly, her flesh, blood, soul, mana, and blood would be given to Mr. Chiu as food, and Mr. Chiu would be happy. After thinking for a moment, Luo Zuking shook her head helplessly. Being inferior to others, what can you do? Facing the reality, Luo Zuking could only go far away to improve her cultivation and come back for revenge. Xiaoyi, let's go. Let's find a place and I'll teach you a new cultivation method. Let's practice well and live well. My method is the best for health preservation and longevity. When we live to be 100 or 80 years old, when the damned Mr. Chiu is old and weak, and his blood is exhausted, we will come to him for revenge. I don't believe that he, who practices evil yin magic, can live longer than us. As she spoke, Luo Zuking gritted her teeth. Sang Xiaoyi listened and looked strange. Well, what a strange way of revenge. But doing this is indeed very feasible. 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, don't bully the poor young. They are still in their teens, and Mr. Chiu has been famous for a long time, so let's wait and see who can survive who. The 2 women made a revenge plan, and without delay, they packed up and immediately got up and took action, strategically retreating away from Dongxi City. Zuking, keep going east, cross a few mountains, and then cross a few rivers, and you will reach Xi'an City, which is another new force. We can temporarily settle there. After walking out of the cave, Sang Xiaoyi looked at the sun in the sky to identify the direction and said, Okay, I got it. Luo Zuking nodded and followed her bestie, but when she raised her footsteps, the long white bone banner in her hand trembled slightly, and it was suspected that the ghost discovered by Mr. Chiu went towards Dongxi City again. Mr. Chiu, you don't plan to hunt them down? Luo Zuking had a question in her mind, and while she breathed a sigh of relief, she didn't say much to add to her troubles. Continue on your way. In the abandoned mountain temple, Lu Feng used magic to seal the ghost in the blackwood. Then he left the mountain temple. After looking at the direction, he walked towards the nearby Dongxi City. The revenge of the 2 women has already begun, but Lu Feng has no idea about it and has no interest in knowing. Studying the ghosts that have just been captured is more interesting than all this. After passing through the wild boar forest, he walked onto a long abandoned forest path and walked north for about 20 to 30 miles, and he arrived at Dongxi City. Chapter 20, Local Monks Show Their Power. Lu Feng's pace was not slow, although there was no white velociraptor to lead the way. But only half an hour later, the outline of Dongxi City had appeared in Lu Feng's eyes. Walking along the dirt road, the number of pedestrians on the road gradually increased. Lu Feng took off his plate armor, put on clothes similar to those of pedestrians, and mixed in with the pedestrians on the road. Listen to the 6 directions and look in all directions. Through the chats of pedestrians, he obtained the latest information about Dongxi City. However, most of the pedestrians on the road were ordinary people in Dongxi City. They talked about family matters, or complained about the weather, taxes, and officials. If it was in the city, Lu Feng would definitely be able to crush all the uncles and aunts in the corner of the community with his skill, but unfortunately this is the world of earthly immortals. Ordinary people's family matters are of no use to Lu Feng. Mixed in the crowd, after walking for a while, Lu Feng finally arrived in front of Dongxi City. What came into view was a tall city wall more than 10 meters high that surrounded the entire city. Lu Feng had seen many such walls in the wizard world, so he didn't find them strange. Anyway, for him, if he was serious, he could jump over them with a few running steps. Lu Feng looked carefully and found no spell-resisting devices, runes, or formations to deal with spellcasters on the walls of Dongxi City. In the wizard world, on the Trudeau continent, some wizard organizations also built walls to surround and protect their bases. Magic repelling stones, forbidden magic formations, forbidden air formations, rune towers, magic pattern crystal cannons. For the Trudeau continent, where the wizard profession is well developed, city wall defense has become a business. There is nothing special about the city wall of Dongxi City. It seems that this city wall is only used to restrict and deal with ordinary people. However, this is a good thing for Lu Feng, indicating that the owner of Dongxi City has limited strength. After looking at the city wall, Lu Feng finally lined up and came to the city gate. Today, there are a lot of soldiers guarding the city gate, and the people entering the city are so scared that they dare not breathe. The people in the queue in front entered very slowly. The soldiers guarding the city seemed to be comparing pieces of paper with something. Everyone who entered the city was searched. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the city gate. Men on the left, women on the right. Men go in directly, and women must be searched before entering the city. A soldier with a loud voice shouted while beating a gong. There were not many women among the people entering the city. Hearing the shouts of the soldiers beating the gong, and then looking at the sturdy soldiers at the city gate, they were immediately trembling with fear. Looking at the soldiers' lecherous eyes, these women were even more terrified. After being searched by these soldiers, can they still keep their innocence? Dad, we won't go into the city, let's go back quickly. Husband, those people's eyes are so scary, let's go back quickly. The women in the queue hurriedly asked the men around them for help in fear and prepared to leave. For such a thing, which man can tolerate it? They hurriedly pulled the women out of the team. At this time, a cunning voice came from the lookout on the city gate tower. Great! You guys actually disobeyed the order of the city lord. A pair of male and female thieves have appeared in Dongxi City recently. You dare not accept the search, obviously afraid of the government, and are ready to flee for fear of crime. Go, catch them all, put them in jail, and wait for interrogation. Hearing this voice, the Dongxi City soldiers who were already on high alert immediately took action, holding their weapons and surrounding the men and women who walked out of the team. These people are just a group of ordinary people, how can they be the opponents of these wolf-like soldiers? Once the weapons were raised, their bodies became weak and they lost their courage. Even if they wanted to protect the people around them, they did not dare to fight desperately. Just when this group of men and women were about to despair, suddenly, a plain voice came from the back of the crowd. Amitabha. The voice was not loud, but it reached the ears of everyone present, making everyone feel refreshed. Local monk? Interesting. Feeling the spiritual power integrated into this chant, Lu Feng, who was standing in the queue, narrowed his eyes and thought it was interesting. When Lu Feng was secretly peeping, the accident in front of the city gate was still going on. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a monk with a bright head, a coarse cloth monk robe, straw sandals, Buddhist beads in his hand, and a Zen stick on his back, slowly walking out of the crowd. Donor, forgive others when you can, don't kill them in vain. The monk said in a light tone with no sadness or joy on his face, implying that he wanted to save these men and women besieged by soldiers. Hearing the monk's words, the cunning man on the city gate also poked his head out, revealing a man with shifty eyebrows and 2 rat whiskers on his mouth. Where did this wild monk come from? Do we need your Buddha's permission to do things in Dongxi City? Don't look for trouble here, or I'll send you to the military camp to let you experience the taste of being pouty." Dirty words spewed out from the mouth of the man with shifty eyes. This guy seems to be called Yao Ji, and he is a subordinate of Mr. Chu. It seems that this guy has caused a big trouble for Dongxi City. Recalling the information asked by Shi Jingchen, Lu Feng recognized the man on the city gate. Yao Ji, with shifty eyes, is the gatekeeper of Dongxi City. In name, he is a member of the Dongxi City government, but secretly, he has long become a rat under Mr. Chu. But this monk is not a simple person. Judging from his appearance, he seems to be a monk who has magic power and has entered the way of cultivation. The rosary in his hand and the Zen stick behind him do not seem to be ordinary items. Now we have something to watch. If this monk breaks the gate of Dongxi City, I wonder what Master Chu will think. Lu Feng continued to hide and wait for the situation to develop. Under the order of the sly Yao Ji, more soldiers moved, holding weapons and surrounding the monk. Facing the weapons that were about to poke his face, the monk still maintained a calm expression, as if he was confident and not afraid of these mortal weapons in front of him. "Kill, stab this monk to death first." Yao Ji looked at the monk who did not resist and said viciously, "Kill." The soldiers who received the order did not hesitate and immediately stabbed the monk with their spears. In their eyes, the monk was just an ordinary monk, all flesh and blood, no different from them. But the next moment, the soldiers who stabbed the guns only heard the sound of dang-dang. The spears that they expected to pierce the straw target were bounced away as if they had stabbed a piece of hard metal. A faint golden light clung to the monk's skin, blocking all the soldiers' attacks. How is it possible? Invulnerable to swords and guns. Yao Ji's eyes widened, and his expression suddenly changed. Amitabha. Another Buddhist chant sounded in the field, and a heat wave spread out, and the soldiers with guns were smoked back one after another. Chapter 21, Like a Buddha, like a devil, greedy monk. In the field, the monk was just angry. But in the eyes of the soldiers with guns, the monk, who was not tall and strong, turned into a huge furnace, emitting amazing heat. "If you insult me, I will only smile and it will disappear in a flash. But if you want to kill me, don't blame me for sending you to see the Buddha." At some point, the rosary in the monk's hand disappeared, replaced by a Zen stick. The Zen stick is simple, with the upper part of the stick made of metals such as tin and iron, in the shape of a pagoda, with a large ring attached, and several small rings under the large ring, which will make a tin-tin sound when shaken. It is a self-defense weapon that monks carry with them when they are walking outside. Holding the tin stick can show holy wisdom and do good deeds. The soldiers of Dongxi City, who were frightened by the amazing heat, saw the monk gently wave the Zen stick. The Buddha's light suddenly appeared, and one by one they were hit hard, bang bang bang, and collapsed to the ground, unable to move. Seeing this monk's move, the soldiers of Dongxi City who did not besiege the monk all showed fear on their faces, their legs trembling, and hesitated to move forward. On the city gate, Yao Ji, who had a sly look in his eyes, was so scared that he shrank into the battlements of the city wall, not daring to stick his head out, for fear of being spotted by this powerful monk. After hitting the south wall, Yao Ji already knew how powerful the monk was, and also realized that this monk might be as powerful as Master Chu. Thinking of Master Chu's power, at this moment, Yao Ji, who had offended the monk, wished to turn into a mouse and find a hole in the ground to crawl into. Never appear in front of this monk again. However, at this dangerous moment, Yao Ji did not forget to tear up a paper talisman in his arms to remind Master Chu that a powerful enemy was coming. This paper talisman was drawn by Master Chu, and there was a trace of magic power left in it. After tearing it up, Master Chu could sense it. Compared with the soldiers of Dongxi City who were frightened and panicked by the monks, the men and women who were surrounded by soldiers and almost taken to the prison and tortured were all filled with joy of being saved and escaping. The prison of Dongxi City is not a place for people to stay. Ordinary people are lucky to come out alive after entering. If you go in, you will be skinned alive even if you don't die. This is a man. If it is a woman, it will be even more miserable. Those who come out alive are almost all crazy. After being rescued, these people hurriedly ran behind the monk holding the Zen stick and hugged the monk's thick thighs tightly. Some people even knelt directly in front of the monk, kowtowed repeatedly, and shouted that the Buddha was alive. In front of the city gate, other pedestrians who were not trapped in the prison also had a better impression of the monk holding the Zen stick. In the sincere gratitude of these people, the monk's angry face also had a smile on his lips. Lu Feng, who was secretly observing this farce, saw a clue. From his spiritual perspective, ordinary people could not see the level. In front of the monk, the men and women who knelt down to thank him all exuded wisps of white air. Behind the monk, a golden and angry Ming Wang was greedily sucking the wisps of white air. On his face, which was exactly the same as the monk's, there was an incomparable enjoyment, like the joy of ascending to heaven. It was as if he had taken drugs and was high. It seems that this monk is not a serious person. When he encountered the scene of Dongshi City oppressing the people, he just wanted to show himself in front of him and plunder what he wanted. What the white air that the monk plundered was touched Lu Feng's blind spot in knowledge. He didn't know what it was, and there was no relevant record in the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra. But there is no gain without early action. This monk's move was obviously a conspiracy. With the monk here to protect everyone, for a while, the gate of Dongshi City fell into a weird stalemate. Yaoji on the city gate shrank away without a trace. The gatekeepers of Dongshi City, without caring about their classmates who were knocked unconscious by the monk, fled into the city gate without any armor. With a boom, the thick iron-nailed wooden door was closed from the inside by the soldiers of Dongshi City, and the people waiting to enter the city in front of the gate also moved away from the city gate. Today, they didn't want to enter Dongshi City. These people originally wanted to go into the city to do business or other things, but today the gatekeepers suddenly accused people of crimes and arrested people indiscriminately on the pretext of arresting bandits. At this moment, the Dongshi City seemed to have become a ferocious monster that eats people. Everyone was in danger and subconsciously retreated away. Such a ridiculous thing. The gatekeepers in the city can do it, who knows if there are other more ridiculous things. They are lucky today, it's not their turn, and the unlucky men and women are also protected by this enlightened monk who came from nowhere. But what about next time? Can they be lucky again? They were just some ordinary people in the market, and they could not guess the thoughts of the big people in the city. But they dared not gamble with their lives. Lu Feng then mixed in the crowd and left with others, planning to enter Dongshi City at another time. The monk with a staff stood behind Lu Feng, and a group of people gathered around him. When Lu Feng left the city gate, he would naturally pass by the monk not far away. When passing by, Lu Feng only glanced at the monk with his peripheral vision, but the monk with a staff seemed to have sensed something, and subconsciously urged the Mingwang Dharma image behind him, staring at Lu Feng with eyes as big as copper bells. The Mingwang Dharma image was tall and mighty, and the golden Buddha light was dazzling. Ordinary people would involuntarily feel ashamed of themselves just by looking at it. The Mingwang Dharma image was majestic, and his eyes were as scorching as if it was real, and he looked at Lu Feng wantonly. Damn, I was careless. This monk is so alert. Sensing the monk's change, Lu Feng felt regretful and immediately followed. Plan 3, to internalize his wizard apprentice's spiritual power in the spiritual space and no longer release it. At the same time, he used all his strength to activate the magic power of the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra and spread it throughout his body to deal with the gaze of the Mingwang fashion. The Mingwang fashion looked down and saw only Lu Feng's green and vibrant magic power, and his body that far surpassed that of a warrior. What a strong and vigorous body. If I bring him to my day temple to be a Dharma protector, it will definitely give me a better chance of cultivating into the Buddhist spiritual realm. The monk Wei Jing looked at Lu Feng's body and suddenly felt greedy. The Mingwang fashion behind Wei Jing also drooled greedily, without any dignity, like a greedy person in the market. For a moment, Lu Feng, who saw the changes in the appearance of the Mingwang, could not tell whether the Dharma image behind Wei Jing was a Buddha or a demon. This monk is greedy for my body. Lu Feng saw the greed of the monk Wei Jing and immediately became alert. The spiritual power in the spiritual space was ready to go, preparing his strongest combination of level 0 spells. Seed of life. There seemed to be sparks about to fly between the two parties. At this time, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew from the direction of Dongshi City under the sun. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Tit for Tat, Buddha Fire vs. Ghost Claw. The sun was high in the sky, but the wind was blowing from the east, as if winter was coming. The ordinary people present felt their hands and feet cold and trembling all over when they were blown by the cold wind. When the cold wind blew, the monk Hu Jing, who was about to attack Lu Feng to subdue him, also changed his face. He quickly asked the Dharma image of the Mingwang to protect himself, chanted the Buddha's name, and the hot breath spread, covering the area dozens of meters around, dispersing the cold wind. Lu Feng felt the cold wind, and his mind trembled. Familiar memories emerged, reminding him of the vicious ghosts he had faced on the Trudeau continent before. Yin Qi accompanies and affects the environment. Wherever it is, it becomes a field. Fighting and practicing are twice as effective with half the effort. Is this the power of the immortals in this world? In the wizard world, the magic of formal wizards is powerful, but if you want to influence the environment and form your own domain, you have to be an old formal wizard. Lu Feng carefully observed the cold wind around him, and his body followed the crowd to approach the place where the monk Hujing was. Monk Hujing mobilized the power of Buddha to dispel the cold wind, protecting the men and women who were grateful to him, and he didn't mind Lu Feng. After being blown by the cold wind, the others were scared and ran away cowardly, wanting to stay away from this strange place, Dongxi City. Many people ran hundreds of meters away from the city gate before they felt the warmth of the sun again. "You monk, what are you doing in my Dongxi City? Don't you know that I don't welcome Buddhist bald donkeys like you?" A cold and indifferent voice came faintly. I don't know when. A young man in white clothes with no trace of redness on his face stood on the wall, waving a paper fan in his hand, and questioned Monk Hujing from a high position. The person who came was the landlord of Dongxi City, the famous Chu Master. Facing the questioning of Chu Master, Monk Hujing's face was serious, no longer as natural and calm as at the beginning. Hujing felt the pressure from Chu Master. I was careless. This man surnamed Chu is probably not less powerful than me. He is not easy to deal with. He is accompanied by Yin Qi, and there is a tendency to form a spiritual realm. It looks like he will soon form a spiritual realm. I am definitely not his opponent. I can deal with him for a while, but I will definitely lose in the end. Monk Hujing thought to himself, and quickly spoke in a soft tone, I hope Mr. Chu will forgive me. I crossed a line. I couldn't bear to see these believers being bullied by the soldiers, so I took action. I am willing to accompany you with the rosary beads that I have been refining for many years. I hope Mr. Chu will forgive me for crossing the line for the sake of Day Temple. Monk Hujing spoke with Golden Lotus. In just a few words, he admitted his cowardice to Mr. Chu, apologized with the rosary beads, and intimidated Mr. Chu with a Day Temple behind him. Day Temple is a good temple, Mr. Chu said lightly after hearing this. Day Temple is located on the Changfang River, more than 1,000 kilometers north of Dongxi City. There are countless monks who practice Buddhism in the temple. There are no less than a handful of monks who have achieved the spiritual realm of Buddhism. Their strength should not be underestimated. However, the next words of Master Chu made Monk Hujing's face change drastically. Day Temple is powerful. There are several monks who have achieved the spiritual realm, but what does this have to do with me wanting to kill you? The words of Master Chu were murderous, as if he had decided to kill Monk Hujing. The cold wind in front of Dongxi City became colder with Master Chu's words. Some ordinary people who did not leave the cold wind area and were not within the range of Monk Hujing's Buddhist power protection were immediately blown by the cold wind and felt their bodies and minds chilled. They fell to the ground in a daze, and their faces were ashen and they were out of breath. What a powerful bone-piercing cold wind! Monk Hujing secretly thought that it was not good, and encouraged the hot Buddhist power to resist the surrounding cold wind that was getting stronger and colder. The hot Buddha power collided with the cold wind that penetrated the bones. During the collision, water and fire were incompatible. There was a thunderous explosion at the intersection. It was as if someone was setting off firecrackers. The men, women, old and young, who were hiding in the range of the Buddha power, were terrified when they saw this scene. Although they could not directly feel the power of Mr. Chu, they also knew that their great supporter, great savior, the living Buddha, had encountered a powerful enemy at this time. But they didn't know how to help Monk Hujing. When they were confused, Monk Hujing's voice reached everyone's ears. The demons are rampant. Everyone chant the Buddha's name with me, help the poor monk, and subdue the demons. After receiving Monk Hujing's request, the confused people had a backbone in their hearts, and immediately followed Monk Hujing and shouted the Buddha's name loudly. Namo Amitabha. Everyone chanted the Buddha's name in unison. As they chanted, a wisp of white air rose from their bodies and floated into the image of the Mingwang behind Monk Hujing, adding to Monk Hujing's power to resist the Yin Qi. With the addition of these people, Monk Hujing's power increased, and it became easier to resist the Yin Qi. You bald donkeys who spread rumors and bring harm to the people, I, Chu, hate your disgusting faces of compassion. Seeing Monk Hujing coercing everyone to fight against the Yin Qi, a scene from the depths of his memory emerged in Mr. Chu's mind, and for the first time, disgust and resentment appeared on his pale face. The next moment, Mr. Chu put away his paper fan, raised his right hand, and the yin wind around him gathered instantly, turning into a pale and gloomy ghost hand floating in front of him. Evil ghosts. 5 ghosts gather, kill immortals and destroy Buddhas, the 5 ghosts Zuanine Great Handprint. The ghost hand grew longer when it saw the wind, and in 1 or 2 blinks of an eye, it expanded to the size of a room. On its 5 fingers, the faces of men, women, old, young, and infants wailed in pain. Amid the gusts of cold wind and the howling of ghosts and wolves, it grabbed the monk Hujing who was protecting everyone. Young master, don't go too far. Seeing the ghost hand coming, Monk Hujing knew that today's matter could not be resolved peacefully. If he didn't fight with this young master Chu from Duangxi City, he might lose his life. Immediately, his face showed anger, and the Mingwang Dharma image behind him roared to the sky. Mingwang Dao, the compassionate Buddha, also has anger. When the anger comes, it will burn the 3-foot sky. The anger of the Mingwang. The hot and angry Buddha fire ignited from the Mingwang Dharma image, carrying the artistic conception of burning all the evil in the world, passing through the sky and earth, and burning towards the 5 ghosts Zuanine Great Handprint of young Master Chu. On one side is the extremely sinister ghost hand. Wherever it passes, there is a chilling atmosphere and ghosts howling. On the other side is the extremely masculine and strong Buddha's wrathful fire. Wherever it burns, the air is distorted and the heat bites people. The 2 spells met in the air, and immediately, it was like thunder and fire from heaven and earth. Where they intersected, there was a shocking roar. The Buddha's wrathful fire burns the yin energy, and the yin energy extinguishes the Buddha's fire. The 2 sides are in conflict and incompatible with each other. The update has arrived. Please recommend, please vote for the monthly ticket, and please read on. Starting from tomorrow, Sunday, this book will be recommended in the last round. Reading on will affect the recommendations in the future. Please read this book more. The author thanks you here. Chapter 23, Hundreds of Beauties Compete for Buddha. What a wrathful fire of Buddha. What a devil claw. Lu Feng, who was hiding in the protection of Monk Hujing's Buddha power, spied on the battle of magic between the monk and the young master, and was full of admiration in his heart. Although the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in this earthly immortal world is thin, the power of the earthly immortals derived from it is really not small. Lu Feng estimated that the strength of the 2 should be about the same as his, but the power of the magic they cast one by one should not be underestimated. Lu Feng speculated what kind of scene it would be if he faced the magic of these 2 people. Fighting alone, Lu Feng has a 70% chance of defeating Monk Hujing and a 50% chance of killing him. But if it is young Master Chu, Lu Feng has only a 60% chance of defeating him and a 40% chance of killing him. If the 2 join forces, Lu Feng feels that he has a 50% chance of fighting them to a draw and a 100% chance of escaping. Well, it's still not safe. I need to collect more information. After Lu Feng calculated, his brows frowned slightly, and his eyes were fixed on the battle in the field. Between the young master and the monk. The Buddha's wrath and the Zuanine ghost claws, when Lu Feng was thinking, finally decided the winner. After all, the Zuanine ghost claws of the young master Chu were better. The yin qi was surging, and the 5 ghosts Zuanine Great Handprint annihilated the Buddha's wrath of the monk Hujing. There was still some strength left, and a basin-sized ghost claw under his body continued to grab the monk Hujing. If caught by this ghost claw, even the tempered flesh of the monk Hujing would be torn apart by the erosion of the yin qi. Monk Hujing, with a gloomy face, stood on the ground with a Zen stick in his hand, and a light golden Buddha light was emitted from the Zen stick. In an instant, the Mingwang Dharma image behind the monk had a golden Zen stick in his hand, which looked exactly the same as the one in the monk's hand. Holding the golden Zen stick, the Mingwang Dharma image waved his hand, and the golden Buddha light swept fiercely on the 5 ghosts Zuanine Great Handprint. Pop! Yin Qi surged and exploded, and the 5 ghosts' mysterious Yin seal of Master Chu was also smashed apart by the Buddha's light. Little bald donkey, it's interesting, but I, Chu, will be serious now. Master Chu's face was stern. Although he had only used 70% of his strength in the 5 ghosts' mysterious Yin seal just now, the surrounding world had already fallen into his Yin Qi domain, which had a natural geographical advantage. and the monk in front of him, in such a situation, could still use the magic weapon to block it, so his strength must be strong. Don't fight for a long time, otherwise there may be changes. Thinking of this, Master Chu decided to kill. With a paper fan in his hand, a vivid picture of 100 beauties competing for beauty appeared in the eyes of everyone in the field. One by one, the dancers with outstanding appearance and beautiful appearance, wearing light gauze clothes, danced in the air, and the obscene pink breath spread with every frown and smile, making the people in the field, regardless of men and women, have an impulse to spurt blood from the bottom of their hearts. Master Chu, is this your method? A bunch of beautiful skeletons want to shake my character. When the 100 beauties picture came out, Monk Hujing looked at the skeletons and was not moved at all. The beautiful women with enchanting figures and fragrant noses were nothing but rotten skeletons in front of the monk, with a foul smell and maggots crawling in the black skulls. Really? Master Chu ignored Monk Hujing's ridicule and continued to activate the 100 beauties picture. Fairy music was playing and dancers were flying. Monk Hujing was not affected much, but the men and women behind him were blushing, dancing and immersed in evil dreams. Influenced by the 100 beauties picture, these people scattered and no one chanted the Buddha's name. Lu Feng imitated the people around him and indulged in the dream of beauty. HMPH. Don't think you can influence me like this. Monk Hujing didn't need to look back, his mind saw the ugly appearance of the crowd, and his face twitched when he saw Lu Feng, who was mixed in and acting with all his heart. This kid is definitely acting. He is obviously strong and powerful, and has no pressure to resist this simple beauty illusion, but he pretends to enjoy the protection of me, but doesn't help me. What a gloomy person. Monk Hujing gritted his teeth in anger, but he was concerned about Mr. Chu in front of him and had no intention of attacking Lu Feng. The monk snorted coldly, and under the encouragement of Buddha's power, these men and women who fell into the dream of beauty all fainted and fell to the ground one by one. Lu Feng didn't feel the monk's attack, but when he saw others fall, he quickly adjusted his body, closed his eyes, and fell straight to the ground. Lust is a knife to scrape bones. Monk Hujing's move was intended to save them, so that these unfortunate people with weak wills would not be sucked dry of their yang energy by the female ghosts. After all, these people had just contributed their mental power to him, helping him to exorcise demons. After saving these men and women, Monk Hujing continued to urge the Dharma image of the Mingwang, holding up the Zen stick, and emitting golden light. The scorching hot Buddha power shone on the nearly 100 dancing girls, and immediately corroded the beautiful and charming appearance of the dancers like concentrated acid, leaving them with thousands of holes, and they wailed miserably. The beautiful appearance faded, and the ferocious female ghosts, wearing red clothes, appeared between heaven and earth under the light of Buddha. 97 evil spirits, Mr. Chu, what are you going to do? Seeing the evil spirits reveal their true form, Monk Hujing, who was not afraid even when fighting with Mr. Chu, showed a look of fear for the first time, and his voice trembled a little when he spoke. Ghosts are the product of the souls of people who die and are affected by negative spiritual energy, such as yin, death, and resentment. At the beginning of their birth, they are weak and have many weaknesses, such as fear of light and fire. But when ghosts accumulate over time and absorb enough negative spiritual energy, they can improve their cultivation like humans and evolve into evil spirits comparable to Taoist children. These evil spirits under the command of Mr. Chu are obviously the products of artificial refining. However, the number is really shocking, close to 100. Bald donkey, it seems that you are unlucky. You have discovered my secret by accident. Since you have seen these evil spirits, I, Chu, will not let you go. Although my 100 ghost soul devouring formation is still a little short of completion, it is still powerful. It is just right to test the water with you. The flesh and blood of monks are a great tonic for these evil spirits of mine. Mr. Chu laughed and waved his paper fan, and hundreds of ghosts flew. The yin energy was turbulent, darkness descended, and the 100 ghost soul devouring formation constructed by nearly 100 evil spirits opened its mouth and swallowed the monk Hujing, who was shining with Buddha light. Even the men and women behind the monk were included. Facing such an attack from the 100 ghost soul devouring formation, Monk Hujing was completely desperate, and the Buddha power in his body was surging, emitting golden light, and he had already decided to fight to the death. The Buddha light was condensing, and Monk Hujing was about to use his strongest Buddhist dharma to fight against the formation. Suddenly, a wave of spiritual energy appeared behind the monk. First update, typing now. Chapter 24, The monk sacrificed his life to praise the seed of life. Seeing that the 100 ghost soul devouring formation launched by Mr. Chu also included himself, Lu Feng naturally couldn't continue to lie there. This attack gathered the power of nearly 100 evil spirits, and it was earth-shattering at first glance. A gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. Lu Feng did not want to put himself in danger, nor did he want to test the protective ability of his level 0 defense spell. Without wearing life-saving plate armor, Lu Feng did not want to use his life shield to test the power of this attack. So, Lu Feng's mental power surged in his mind, brewing 3 level 0 spells. Cat's agility, agile as a cat. Agile wind, the wind favors me. Natural protection, nature pampers me. In an instant, 3 different colors of spiritual light appeared on Lu Feng's body. Under the blessing of the 3 spells, Lu Feng jumped up from the ground nimbly and landed on all fours. Like a cat, his limbs moved together, running, turning into a black shadow, and instantly disappeared within the coverage of the 100 ghost soul devouring formation. What big black rat ran away? Master Chu, who was controlling the 100 ghost soul devouring formation and trying to crush Monk Hujing, was also startled by Lu Feng, who suddenly jumped up to escape. What the hell? When he and Monk Hujing were fighting fiercely, there was actually an enemy who had been secretly watching them. If it weren't for his attack, this man might have continued to hide. Look at his speed of escape. If he attacks me unexpectedly, it will be a big trouble. Master Chu broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. While he was focusing on the surroundings, he controlled the 100 ghost soul devouring formation to continue attacking Monk Hujing. The formation turned into vast yin energy. In an instant, the sun in the sky was blocked by the thick yin energy, and the land in front of Dongxi City seemed like a ghost cave. The people in the city were affected by this and hid in their homes, trembling. Even the wealthy families who usually acted arrogantly lost their temper and trembled like quails. They knew more, so they were more afraid of these people's fighting. As for the people who had not entered the city today, they had already run away when the battle broke out. There were also some unlucky ones who didn't have time to run. They should have been drinking mengpo soup at this time. Monk Hujing, who was enveloped by the 100 ghosts devouring soul formation, had already pushed his Buddha power and the Ming Wang Dharma image behind him, as well as the Zen staff Buddha instrument in his hand, to the extreme. The Buddha's light was brilliant, but it could only be supported with difficulty in the center of the formation. The 100 ghosts condensed the formation, and the yin qi gathered into a millstone, crushing and grinding the golden Buddha's light of Monk Hujing. After the formation turned a circle, Monk Hujing's Buddha's light weakened a bit. Today's incident was ultimately caused by my greed, which made Yushi actively want to kill. The blame is on me. Well, I will give up this flesh body, return to heaven and earth, and eliminate this guilt. Seeing that the situation was over, Monk Hujing was ruthless in his heart, chanting the Buddha's name, and urging the Ming Wang Dharma image behind him to merge into the flesh. Little monk, don't let your mind wander. Chu just wants to teach you a lesson, not to kill you. Listening to the monk's sophistry, Master Chu frowned, and suddenly realized something. He quickly increased the power of the 100 ghost soul devouring formation, wanting to crush Monk Hujing. Master Chu's words came, and Monk Hujing smiled. I don't believe you. The next moment, a violent and hot Buddha light burst out from Monk Hujing's body. His flesh and blood body and Zen stick were all turned into fragments at this moment. Under the fierce Buddha light, they shot into the 100 ghost soul devouring formation. Boom! The golden Buddha light pierced through the yin qi field and shot into the formation. The evil spirits that were besieging were wailing under the attack of the golden Buddha power. The body condensed by yin qi was burned with holes by the golden Buddha power. After this attack, Master Chu's 100 ghost soul devouring formation was also damaged and could not continue, and it broke apart. Monk Hujing sacrificed himself and exploded, catching Master Chu off guard and distressed. He urged the paper fan, and the yin qi rolled back, and the 100 ghosts returned to the paper fan. What a cruel monk. My 100 ghosts formation is seriously damaged now. After checking the paper fan, Master Chu's face was gloomy. In order to build a spiritual realm, he spent decades collecting evil spirits and practicing this 100 beauty picture. But after the monk's commotion, many evil spirits on the fan were shattered by Monk Hujing's Buddha light attack, and 8 unlucky guys were beaten to death. Collecting yin qi, repairing the body, and collecting yin souls. If you want to recover, it takes days and nights of hard work. Why is the way of earthly immortals so difficult? While Master Chu was wailing in his heart, He also felt a little angry. Looking at the place where Monk Hujing had just stood, the men and women he had protected were still in a coma. Monk Hujing, even if he tried his best to self-destruct, did not forget to protect these mortals. But when Master Chu saw these men and women, there was only disgust in his eyes. He waved his paper fan, and the yin qi swept over them, wanting to kill all of them, take their flesh and blood souls, and sacrifice them all to the 100 Beauties picture. Just as the yin qi attacked, suddenly, a dim golden light flew up from the sleeping crowd, wrapped with a rosary, and rushed into the sky. The speed was so fast that even Master Chu's yin qi could not catch up. "You dead bald donkey, you really have a trick up your sleeve. You left a trace of soul. How can you still think of learning the great power of your Buddhist sect and reincarnate?" Seeing this sudden golden light, Master Chu laughed calmly. When the golden light avoided the yin qi, a 5 ghosts' mysterious yin handprint had already appeared in time, blocking the golden light's way. The ghosts' claws were as big as those of the mortal world, but as agile and flexible as human hands. No matter how the golden light dodged, it could not escape the claws of the ghost. Instead, it lost speed in dodging and was in danger. Just as the golden light wrapped with a rosary was about to be captured by Master Chu, a clear and melodious prayer voice came slowly under the guidance of the wind. "Praise life, praise nature, sing the song of life. Starting from the seeds the wind brings water vapor, which is the source of life." With a sound, water vapor came with the wind, washing over the ghost claws of the yin spirit, delaying the attack of the ghost claws, moistening the golden light rosary, making the golden light brighter, and the speed suddenly increased, breaking out of the encirclement of the ghost claws. The wind brings seeds, which is the beginning of all things. Another sound, the breeze blew, and on the ghost claws of the yin spirit, there were actually all kinds of plant seeds taking root and sprouting, disintegrating the composition of the ghost claws. "It's you, you're back. What a magical spell, quite interesting." Looking at the yin qi ghost claws that were rapidly dissipating under the efforts of the weak plants, Mr. Chu's face became ugly for the first time. He held the folding fan tightly, and the surrounding cold wind blew. The second update is finished. Tomorrow will continue. Chapter 25, Snatch food from the tiger's mouth, moisten things silently. No one knew who had cast this domineering wood magic. But Mr. Chu had a strong premonition in his heart. This magic must be related to the big black rat that had suddenly escaped from his 100 ghost soul devouring formation. Maybe it was the same person who did it. However, this person didn't take him, the landlord of Dongshi City, seriously. Did he think that Dongshi City was a cesspool on the side of the road? He could come and go as he pleased. Did he really think that Mr. Chu was a softy who was easy to bully? With new hatred and old grudges, Mr. Chu was furious. His body moved suddenly, and the yin energy that spread in the surrounding heaven and earth suddenly rolled back, turning into a dark and cold mirror, hanging upside down above Mr. Chu's head. Mr. Chu also sent the 100 Beauty picture in his hand into the mirror above his head at the right time. In the dark and cold mirror space, a scene of purgatory on earth with hundreds of ghosts walking at night was derived. If Monk Hujing saw this scene, he would certainly recognize that the bright mirror space above Master Chu's head already had the prototype of the spiritual realm of earthly immortals. As long as he took one step further, Master Chu would be able to directly step into the path of earthly immortals. But unfortunately, Monk Hujing certainly couldn't see it, and even Lu Feng didn't see it. After he released a combined 0-level spell, Seed of Life, to disintegrate the 5 ghosts' handprint that Master Chu used to capture Monk Hujing's rosary, Lu Feng grabbed Monk Hujing and killed him at his fastest speed, leaving only a grass and wood substitute in the original place to confuse the audience. When Master Chu condensed the bright mirror space and his momentum increased greatly, he was ready to get rid of the person in the dark, but he found that he was fooled by a glance. He found the place where Lu Feng was hiding, but there was only a scarecrow in black clothes that looked like a real person standing in the bushes. The black scarecrow swayed in the wind, and its components collided, making a strange sound, as if mocking Mr. Chu's lack of wisdom. "Damn little thief, don't let me catch you, otherwise you will die." Mr. Chu looked ugly, and the yin qi around him swirled, instantly crushing the black scarecrow into pieces. The next moment, Mr. Chu's figure blurred and disappeared in front of Dongshi City. It was unknown how long it took, but the aftermath of the battle between the two sides gradually dissipated. The sun reappeared in the sky, shed sunlight, and dispelled the remaining yin qi. At this time, the government office of Dongshi City sent officials to appease the people and residents and clean up the mess. As for questioning and punishing the culprit who caused all this, everyone was tactful and kept silent. The silent Dongxi city slowly regained its vitality under the setting sun. After walking hundreds of miles, Dongxi city had already disappeared without a trace behind him, and Lu Feng found a safe place to stop. After taking a few breaths and drinking a bottle of vitality potion to replenish his physical strength, Lu Feng only felt sore all over. It's been a long time since I've been so excited. I remember the last time I ran away so miserably was 3 years ago, when I encountered a supernatural creature at the level of a formal wizard while on a mission. He was originally just going to Dongxi City to see the local folk customs and investigate the local culture. Who knew that while waiting in line, he would encounter such a mess? If it weren't for his great skills in escaping, who knows how things would develop? The last trump card of Mr. Chu was something Lu Feng had not expected. When the Mingjing space appeared, Lu Feng felt that Mr. Chu had already had the strength close to the level of a formal wizard. According to the saying of the earthly immortal world, he should be a Taoist who has cultivated to the spiritual realm. In short, Taoist. He couldn't beat him, he really couldn't beat him. Before Mr. Chu opened his big move, even when he deployed the 100 Ghost Soul Devouring formation, Lu Feng was somewhat confident that he could match him. But Lu Feng really had no confidence in using the trump card of the mirror space, Mr. Chu. Lu Feng never does a business that loses money. Therefore, Lu Feng, who got the rosary of monk Hujing, was very direct. As for what is face, Lu Feng said that he had never learned this word in the wizard world. When escaping, Lu Feng chose secluded and deserted places. He walked eastward for about hundreds of miles. From the information obtained by Shi Jingchen's torture, Lu Feng knew that if he walked a little further, he would reach the next city. The city was called Chuan City and was ruled by a local gang called San Gang. Unlike Dongxi City, where Mr. Chu was the only one in power, but the strength of the San Gang, which could rule a city, should not be underestimated, and there were some good players. However, these had little to do with Lu Feng. He had not yet arrived in Chuan City and had not dealt with the San Gang. As long as he was careful and did not cause trouble, he should not be as unlucky as in Dongxi City. Lu Feng checked all around and confirmed that Master Chu had not followed him. Then he entered a dark cave and stopped to rest for a while. By the way, he checked the spoils he had just taken. With a dim light from the cave entrance, Lu Feng took out a rosary from his arms. This rosary was the object of the remnant soul of monk Hujing after he blew himself up. At this time, the golden Buddha light of the rosary had faded, and it was dim, revealing its original appearance. It was an ordinary sandalwood Buddhist bead. Monk Hujing had been twisting it for a long time, and it was round and smooth. Under the appearance of the ordinary Buddhist beads, there was still a pure Buddhist power hidden, and the remnant soul of monk Hujing was living in it at the moment. Monk Hujing was seriously injured by the self-destruction of his physical body and the Dharma image of the Mingwang. The trace of soul that was retained by the secret method was also weak. After escaping from Master Chu's capture, he fell asleep due to weakness not long after being caught by Lu Feng. Lu Feng held the rosary beads, sensing the weak residual soul of monk Hujing in it, and had a headache. He originally wanted to get some skills and information from monk Hujing to enrich his knowledge base. But seeing monk Hujing's current state, he was so weak and his consciousness was chaotic, and he didn't know when he would wake up. If it was like the ordinary ghost he saw in the dilapidated mountain temple, Lu Feng could still study it directly, but monk Hujing's consciousness contained too much knowledge and was very weak. Lu Feng was afraid that if he took action, he would cause irreversible damage to monk Hujing's residual soul. At that time, without the memory stored in the residual soul, he would suffer a great loss. Moreover, Lu Feng specialized in the life and plant factions in the botanical garden, and was not very good at studying souls and death. Forget it, seal this rosary first. I remember that those shadow and death wizards seem to have many ways to drive ghosts and evil spirits. I'll go back and ask someone, and just train this monk into thug. With a decision in mind, Lu Feng immediately took action and used magic to seal the rosary of monk Hujing tightly, and put it together with a black wood that was obtained from the dilapidated mountain temple to seal the ghost. Looking outside the cave, it was already dark. Lu Feng did not plan to move forward and rush to Chuan City, so he prepared to return to the wizard world. Space Gate was activated, and Lu Feng disappeared in the cave. When Lu Feng left, Luo Zuking and Sang Xiaoli were hiding in a mud pit and shivering about dozens of miles away from Lu Feng. The wet mud soaked their clothes, and the cold spread to their delicate bodies, But how could this little cold compare to the fear and chill in their hearts? Suddenly, the shivering Luo Zuking trembled slightly. She suddenly lost the sense of the ghost that Lu Feng was carrying. The ghost disappeared. What happened? Did he find us, or did he find the hands and feet in the ghost and destroy it? All kinds of suspicions filled Luo Zuking's mind. First update: thanks to all the book friends for collecting, this book has successfully achieved an achievement, 1000 collections. Happy. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.